Hello, everybody. It's Aaron live, late night, last second live stream. I didn't really put that in the title card. I'm a bit remiss. I didn't do that, but it's all par for the course when you're doing a last second live stream, especially late at night. It's not that late where I'm at, but it could be very late where you're at. But what do we all do late at night? We draw. That's what we do. So that's what I'm here to do. I may have a guest coming in here in fact, I know I will be having a guest here very shortly, as soon as he finishes eating his dinner. He's going to come in and join us, but I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to somehow jinx it. Well, now, there's not a ton of people here, but I wouldn't expect that until things get cooking. And then the crowd is going to roll in like thunder. Okay, that's about as dramatic as I can get. Let's see who is here. Killer Squid is here, but he says, hello, Aaron. Thanks for the stream. We'll have to check it out tomorrow. So even though he gets nothing for being first here, he's not even going to stay long enough to receive nothing. So it is kind of tragic. I haven't switched cameras yet. Shelly's lurking in the background, but she's not prepared for public viewing at this time.
Oh, not even close.
So she's going to wait till I drop the camera to the table, and then she might just mosey on in for a few.
I am diving in to this graphic novel called Garbage Man.
She read Wraith of God last night.
Oh my gosh, it was so good.
Look at that.
It was so good.
Shelly wouldn't lie to you. She wouldn't.
I don't know you well enough. No.
That's right. Shadowhawk Talk says, hail, Aaron. Wraith of God Bloodhunters. Can't wait to read it. I can't wait to draw it.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait to read it.
See, Shelly got her hooked.
Oh my gosh.
Got her hooked.
It was so clever.
Clever. I don't think she's ever used my name and clever in the same sentence until just now.
31 years. Never.
Clever. It's not really. It
was good, though. It was really good.
Thank you. Paul, overstating the obvious, last second late night chat. It is indeed Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Got to saw Paul at Rose City and his daughter Lucy, who is working in Hollywood now. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
AJ says,
oh, hey, AJ.
Hi, Aaron. He didn't know you were here, Paul.
I know, that's okay.
Was going to go to bed, but you tricked me into staying up. That's what I'm all about.
I am going to bed.
I'm all about
and I'm still going to go to bed.
Well,
and then when I'm done with that, I'm going to go back to bed.
I'm all about tomfoolery. So that's what I'm here for, is to trick you guys. Jimmy Owens is here.
1800s?
I am. Tomfoolery.
Jimmy!
Hi, Aaron. Right as I'm headed to bed.
Yep,
again,
me too.
The chicanery, the tomfoolery.
What? The chicanery?
Chicanery.
Oh. I thought you said shit can. Gotta do my job.
This isn't his Sunday show. I've already lost control. Stat Zero's here.
Hey, Stato.
Look at that. Got her hooked. Ha. Indeed, I did.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Heidi says, Shelly approved.
Hey, Heidi.
Jimmy says he was the first one on Facebook. Nah, that doesn't really count, Jimmy, but nice try.
Well, it does, but you still get nothing.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And you'll like it.
You'll get nothing, and you will like it. Shadowhawk says, hey, Shelly, hope you're doing well.
I'm doing.
She's doing.
No, I'm doing all right.
Oh, what's this? But thanks a lot, Paul. Now I'm in trouble.
Not a one. Not a one. And there was one cookie all melted in the bag.
I haven't brought the fudge home, though.
You didn't bring the fudge home.
I did, too. It was sitting on their counter.
Not in my gut.
Well, I'm just saying it was there. So.
Oh, my gosh. Husker, what are you doing?
I was, Heidi's going to bed. Everybody's going to bed. Ouija board spell correction failed me. I don't understand. Look at Jimmy. Shelly's always camera ready.
Oh,
isn't
honey.
that sweet?
Yeah, no.
That's so sweght.
Yeah, no. I did brush my hair today, though.
Not until he shows up, he isn't. So.
What you drawing?
Anyway.
Ooh,
well, I have to redraw David and I did a dueling piece,
Right.
if you will. He drew, of course, in his studio. I drew my half in my studio. We were going to put them together, auctioned it off as a double page spread, and I spilled water all over my clay face.
That's right.
So I have to redraw clay face, and I'm doing it right now, right here, tonight, live.
But not in bed.
Not in bed. You guys could be
We
in
could
bed.
watch.
That's right.
I'm going to
Speaking
go
of-
read Garbage Man in
Okay.
bed.
And then she's going to give us a review.
Oh, you
check
guys, check it out.
this out. This is the Garbage
Garbage
Man
Man.
shot glass. We got them from the Glass Works or whatever you
Mhm.
want to call them. So there it is. Shelly will be demonstrating how to use this on our Sunday stream, so you'll want to check that out.
Mhm.
Stat Zero says next Power Cubed. Actually, next might be Kit Carter. You never
Me reading?
know. No, I don't know. Is he talking about the
me
glasses or is he
reading.
talking about you reading?
I'm going to go with me
Power
reading.
Cube is kind of funny. You might
think
chuckle
reading.
if you read
Okay.
Power
I
Cube.
better not
Garbage
be
Man's
headed to
not
bed. If I
funny.
start laughing like those videos with that dog, I can't believe you hit me.
Well, it's not a gut buster, but you'll
I will-
chuckle, I think,
okay.
a little bit.
A chuckle.
So you don't want to. Look at this. I don't know who this person is. Ivar Jens for $5. Thank you so much. Hey, Aaron, much loved and God bless to you and yours. Wanted to ask if you're ever going to do a big project with Kit Carter Galactic Ranger. Well,
good question.
Ivar, let me tell you, if we hit
When?
when we hit $100,000 on the Wraith of God Blood Hunters campaign, there she is, right there. I probably
What?
could have leaned this way, would have
Oh,
been
I was
easier.
like me. I'm not on camera, am I?
Kit Carter and Merv the Astro Chimp will be joining the fun as a backup story.
Yep.
So that's when we hit 100, and we are going to do it because I
Next
have
week.
faith in you guys to make it happen. So yeah, so and then I'll take it all under advisement, see what people have to say, what they like, what they want to
Drives the next
see.
project.
Yeah, we might see a Kit Carter Space Adventures or something. Who knows?
Boots
Anything's
in
possible.
space.
That's right. But there will always be a Wraith of God story because the saga must continue until it ends.
Oh my gosh, I can't.
But Kit could be a headliner next time. It's very,
You just
very
never know.
possible. You just don't know.
Yeah.
The winds of change. They blow many directions.
A
That's some deep,
lot of wind
deep crap right
in the
there.
studio.
There. So let's see.
Crack myself up.
Shelly shall know the joy of sitting on a couch or in a bed with a stack of unread comics next to her and the joy of reading through them. Simple things in life.
Yeah. Well, I figured I probably should after 30 years.
And she can come on the live stream and someone may ask you a question. You might be good if you could answer that question.
So
Shelly is the voice in Aaron's head and now ours. Or maybe he's a really good ventriloquist and an impressionist.
maybe.
I'm multi-talented. I don't have a puppet, though. What
Which
happened
one
to
right
her?
behind? I was going to
is it
grab
back
it, but I
there?
realized
No.
if I go back there, that I'll be viewed,
That's right.
and then the viewership will drop to 0. Like I was going to crawl.
Oh, no. Shelly's beauty inside shines
Aw,
through. Praying for
Jimmy.
both of you every night and not hitting on your wife, Aaron. I have respect for you. Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate it very
So
much.
should I tell a story about class today about you?
Sure.
All right, so today we're still doing the hey, get to know ya thing. So I made up a Kahoot. So if you don't know Kahoot, it's like they put in their answers and there's a question online, and it was which teacher, since there's 2 of us in my classroom, since I'll be gone. So anyway, I said just use your name or something appropriate when you log in. So someone logged in as Aaron Lopresti, and so it was questions about their teacher. And one of the questions was, which teacher's been to way too many Comic-Cons? And some kids missed it. I don't know where they've been. But Aaron Lopresti ended up winning the whole game. Who knew?
That's right. I'm doing it by proxy now.
But when the kids were like, what? Why do you go to Comic-Cons? I was like, oh, child. They started Googling Aaron, and then the Aaron.
Mike S. Miller is
Yeah.
here, and he just had a huge launch of a project he's doing, a
Nice.
sci-fi adaptation of it's a graphic novel adaptation of a sci-fi novel, is what I'm trying to say.
That's a mouthful.
It is.
But the kids, this is the time of year where they go, no way. Gotta go make peepees.
Yep.
Mrs. Lopresti, did you know your husband's on Wikipedia? Yes, I did. And then they go, why do you guys go? And I had to say these words out loud, that he goes and signs autographs. And then the questions started coming up. Yeah. So it upped my street cred today a little bit.
I like to do what
That
I
was really
can to help the education
But
of
Aaron
America's
Lopez won.
youth.
But I thought it was really funny that someone logged in as you.
That is funny.
Yep. Good night.
All right, I'm about to switch
Have
cameras,
fun.
and we will hold our breath as David Williams gets out of the bathroom. Hopefully, he'll wash his hands before he comes on.
Sure. Gonna quiz him.
I am. Would you wash your hands?
Did you sanitize?
All right, so there's David Williams' Batman, which is extremely cool. As you
Super
guys
cool,
can
no
see.
pressure.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of pressure. So you got David Williams' Batman. I will be creating Clayface here again for the second time.
Weren't you guys trying
Shelley's
to line them up when you guys were drawing online? That
Yes.
was pretty funny.
So we were a little bit off, but now I can actually correct the
there
cape.
I am.
I can correct it. I can correct the cape.
I don't know where to go to.
She's
off
backing
camera.
up. No,
See, if I back up, then
you're still there.
oh,
Yeah, but they can't see much. They can see.
enough.
There you are in shorts. Up there's your legs, and she's out of here. There it is. That's a pretty good shot. Garbage Man with the crusty letters. This is laser etched into the glass. So I got some schmeg on there. So yeah, Shelley will be demonstrating the proper use of this Sunday. So you want to join us. Oh, and Rini from Rini Draws. Rini, what is it? Strykowski, something like that. She'll be joining us as our special guest, which I don't know why I'm doing it, because I'm in a direct competition trying to catch Rini in our Indiegogo campaign. She's got quite the lead, but we're inching closer. So anyway, we will be talking to her about her career, the time she had pink hair, things like that. You know, public interest kind of stuff. Where's my dog? My dog's over there. He's chewing on something. What are you chewing on? He like instinctively knows when I'm on camera and he's not. Sequential Treasures is right. The next Comic Art Convo is only 9 days away, so it's Saturday after next, and James and I will be discussing favorite inkers. So that will be good. And so make sure you tune in for that. It's 4 p.m. Pacific time next Saturday, not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday. All right. So I'm kind of do what I did on the previous one, but I'm not going to show it to you in case you forgot, because I don't want you to go, oh, the other one was better. So we're going to draw Clayface here. This big old fist grabbing the Caped Crusaders cape. That's why he's called the Caped Crusader, because he has a cape. Makes perfect sense to me. So we're gonna. The great thing about Clayface, and this is why I like drawing like weird monsters and stuff like this. There's there is structure to the drawing, but there's not a lot of structure to the drawing. So I can just kind of wing it and be all over the place, and no one's going to criticize me for it, except of course, Mike Miller will criticize me for it, but nobody else would. No one else would dare. Oh, there he is. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Bro Hizzle Faux Shizzle David Williams. There he is. You know, I'm so proud of you that you got your camera hooked up and it's actually working.
Can you hear me all right?
Well, you're a little distant, but you're not bad. I can hear you. Turn your volume up a little bit. Yeah, that's perfect. So I'm taking another stab at this Clayface, and this time I won't spill water on it. But while I'm working on this, David, what are you going to entertain us with?
My good looks.
Well, beyond that, though, you got to draw something. That's the condition, man.
I'll do something. Hello to everybody in the chat. I want to say thank you to everybody who supported Truth, Justice, and American Way. It's at 120,000. I appreciate everything you guys have done and every penny that's coming into this, and I appreciate everybody who shares it. And I appreciate Aaron for hosting and always pumping the book. And he's a scholar and a prince. Even though I give him a hard time all the time, it's all out of love.
That's right. David and I are close like salt and pepper.
That's
So-
right. That's right.
All right. So
That's right.
actually, let's take a look real quick at this since I got you on there. There is the Truth, Justice, American Way campaign. You will find a link to this exciting campaign in the description of this video. Here's some artwork. There's one cover option. Why, there's another cover option. And of course, the third
There's-
cover option. I want to say I got this one, but I can't remember now. I might have got this one. May have got this one. Can't really remember. We got a couple pages in here, some villains. Now, you guys are going to do a preview here pretty quick, right?
Yes.
Can you
I
Tell
think we're
the
going to drop about like 13 pages.
so you're going to drop the first 13 pages of this book on this campaign. And I'm telling you, when you see these, you guys, it's going to explode. So you guys jump on this thing, man, and feel free to back early and often on Truth, Justice, American Way. I also want to take a moment to do something here, if I can get it to do it. There it is. Our good friend Andy Smith has got a campaign that just launched a couple days ago called Cordrath The Reckoning. It's at 43,205 right now. You'll find the link in the description of this video that you can back this as well. This looks really exciting. It's got it's got barbarians and chicks in it. What more could you want? I mean, it's right there. It's the ultimate comic. There's a really cool cover colored by our own Dan Lawless. And there's also a kind of a saucy Bud Root cover. There it is, that you can get with this campaign. Now, I was kind of torn because I like the Bud Root one. I mean, I like the Bud Root drawing, and I really like the lizards and stuff on there. But I really like how Dan Lawless handled the coloring on this. So I had to get it, and so I got the two covers colored by Dan. This one, and then this one, which I think is really sort of killer. And so yeah, I backed twice on this. How about that?
Look at you.
So anyway, that is a book that I would highly recommend you guys getting behind. And then of course, there's nothing quite like my book, since it's my show. Why don't I just share that real quick, and then we'll get on with the drawing portion of our show. We have the Wraith of God campaign. Of course, we're at, tragically, we were at 84,300 and some, but someone canceled like 5 minutes ago, canceled their order. So someone's messing with me. But I would highly recommend this because it's my book. Why wouldn't I recommend it? There's all sorts of good stuff. You've got the wraparound cover. That's cover A. You've got the Tales of Suspense throwback cover, which is your B option. And then, of course, the Tomb of Dracula tribute cover, which is your cover C option. I have a fourth coming from a very big name artist. If he'll do me the kind service of actually finishing it, we'll get it up on here. But until he does, my lips are sealed. Here's some artwork from the interior, colored by our own Gabe L.T.Abe. There's going to be a Garbage Man backup story featuring, of course, Garbage Man and the colors of our own Dan Lawless. Shelley's reading it right now. There's a limited edition Garbage Man print by me. And we have a Ruff's Ash Can Volume 2, give you the behind-the-scenes look at the campaign and laying out the pages and drawing and all that kind of stuff. So if you kind of like to pull the curtain back and see the process, this is the book for you. Merv the Astro Chimp trading card. All of you who signed up early and ordered get one of these for free. Look at these stretch goals. At 40,000, which is unlocked, Loprestiverse retro editorial page with character value stamp added to the book. Yay. At 50,000, a letters page with your letters will be included in the book. And then 60,000, we unlocked. Every backer receives one all-new collectible Kit Carter Galactic Ranger trading card. It'll go perfect with your Merv the Astro Chimp card. And then at 80,000, which we've also unlocked, there's a new Garbage Man trading card coming your way. At 100,000, Kit Carter story is added to the book, 15 pages. That'll put this book up to like 100 pages. And then at 120,000, every backer receives a Queen of Hearts Esther playing card that, of course, will be the companion piece to the Wraith of God Ace of Spades playing card. We have these cool shirts available, the Bloody Dale Keown Werewolf, the Garbage Man in 2 colors. And then, of course, the now classic Wraith of God t-shirt. We also have Empire Comics baseball cap. There's just all sorts of stuff. Look at these add-ons. You can get, if you missed the first graphic novel, it's available as an add-on, except Dale's version is now sold out, sorry. Garbage Man trade paperback you can add on. Power Cube is currently sold out, but I'm trying to get more, so that may be added on later. A Wraith of God shot glass and the Garbage Man shot glass, which I just showed you guys what it actually looks like. So there it is. There's the long-winded non-Reader's Digest version of the campaign. So there you have it. Thank you all
Awesome.
very much. All right. So David, I stalled as long as I could. What are you going to draw?
Wait a minute. There's also the thing that inspired
Uh-oh.
Aaron's Wraith of God, Bass Reeves.
That's right. I don't have that. Darn it. So it's in the early signups. It's still in the signup stages, right?
Yes, Bass Reeves, West of Hell. You can go sign up. Please support that book. I'm working on that and Truth, Justice, and American Way at the same time. So you can imagine I'm pulling my hair out.
That's right. It used to be the Brohawk, and now it's just the.
I used to have a big old afro and stuff.
And it's just
Now,
yanked it out thread by thread. I'd also, I don't have the link in the description, so I totally forgot about that. But if you go to Indiegogo and look at Bass Reeves, I'm sure it'll come right up, right?
yeah, Bass Reeves, West of Hell.
Okay. And Mike Miller's in there begging for a plug. He just launched. He's doing a graphic novel adaptation of a sci-fi novel, and it blew up. I mean, it's like that hit like 84,000 in less than 24 hours.
Wow.
So you want to check that out. I don't remember the name, Mike, so you can put it in the chat if you want. If you guys want to check that out. Of course, I don't have a link here for it either, but we will give Mike a plug since I was super impressed with. I mean, that was a big number, man. I was really impressed. But apparently, this guy that the sci-fi writer or whatever is pretty well known in geek culture and has quite a strong following. So David is doing the graphic novel adaptation and taking advantage of that big audience out there for it. So
And Mike is super talented too, so that sells it as well.
that's true. That's true. Let's not forget that. Like I almost did. You're super talented, Mike. That helps.
So
All right, what do you got for us, David?
maybe you should ask the chat what I should draw.
All right, guys. Here's your chance. What do you want David Brohawk Williams to draw while I'm working on Clayface?
I
The
have the
evil
right.
one.
I have the right to refuse all of it.
That's right. These are just suggestions. The evil one says, "Nice, good, wholesome art stream. I can't deal with the immature debauchery on the Jack Show tonight." Oh, we're going up against the Jack Show. Oh, we're getting killed in the ratings. We're going to be big in reruns, though. Thank you, Evil. I appreciate that. Sequential Treasures wants a sexy babe drawing. Stat Zero says, "What about Two-Face? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, perhaps?" Has David ever drawn Garbage Man? Look at that, Comics Bear. Sure he hasn't. Bass Reeves is always a good choice, although David may be tired of drawing Bass Reeves all the time. Maybe not. How about Godzilla? Paul Ogg throws that out there. I'm not a big Godzilla fan. He has those thunder thighs, and it really bugs me. Here we go. The Hulk. The Hulk is always fun. Now this is good too. Daredevil. Look at that. Oh, this guy's pushing it. He wants more than one. He wants He-Man and Skeletor. Did you ever draw He-Man or Skeletor when you were doing? Was that a Warner Brothers property or no?
No.
Okay.
I think I've done a He-Man once before on a commission, but not of my own. Oh man, I got to draw He-Man. He-Man.
Well, here we go. Draw a passed out Dale Keown.
Oh man.
Poor Dale.
Hey, I
Save
like
it to-
Dale. I would not disrespect him that way.
No, I do. Dale is such a charming guy. That was quite the spectacle, though. But he took it. If anybody could handle it, he got out of that. Smelling like a rose. So I
The
give him
man
credit.
is uncancelable.
Yep. Cyborg from Perez Teen Titans. Cousin Oliver. I don't even know what that means.
Oh, I know who it means. From the Brady Bunch.
Is that that little blonde kid with the
Yeah.
glasses?
Yeah.
Jimmy Reyes art. I was on his show earlier today. He said, "Thank you for streaming." This is my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Gladiator Hulk. If anybody's seen that sketch that you did there, or the commission you did of that, that's a killer piece. That's a lot of work, though. Bass Reeves versus Zombies. How about that? Ooh, Crypto Wang for $10. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Where do I contact you so I can receive my card with my order? You can email me at aaron@aaronlopresti.com, or you can message me, I believe, through the campaign now that it's open. You can send like a, of course, then you'd have to reveal your name and people would be able to read it. So you probably don't want to do that. So yeah, email me at aaron@aaronlopresti.com, and I will put you on the Merv card list. No problem. Thank you, Crypto Wang. I appreciate it very much.
Does Crypto Wang mean dog with a bone?
That might be. No, it was crypto with a C, not a K. So Paul Brillard suggesting the Gene Colan era Iron Man. That's always fun. That's some classic goodness right there.
I think I might do that one.
No, wait a minute. Cousin Oliver versus Nightmare from Doctor Strange. Oh, this is a good one here. Golden Age Superman. Get that Fleischer look. That would be cool too. That's right up your alley.
It is. It is. I like all of those. Okay, most of them.
That's right.
All right.
I like the Gene Colan Iron Man or the Golden Age Superman are my two favorite right now.
Well, it depends on how long we're on. I might be able to do two of them. So.
Well, I gotta pencil and ink this Clayface dude. So there you have it.
All right. Thanks for all the suggestions.
There's Universal
Monster.
A Universal Monster. So that would be like your choice of any Universal Monster.
Cool.
Killer Croc. There's another one. All right.
What was that?
Killer Croc.
Oh, Killer Croc.
All right. So here we go. David's going to be a little bit hidden. You're not going to get to see what he's working on. He's very mysterious, but you will be able to see me work my way through this Clayface drawing one way or another. So this Bass Reeves has a doggone it. What's the artist's name who did the cover, the painted cover, the wraparound cover?
Robinson? Andrew?
Andrew Robinson. That is a killer piece. Now, is that the cover, or do you have a cover too? Is it multiple
I have
covers?
a cover as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I ordered that or not. I thought I did, but I'm not 100% certain. I guess I could check, right? It would tell me if I had. And that's going to have some new material in it, right?
Oh, yeah. 3 issues worth.
So it's the original 6 issues and then additional 3.
No.
Okay.
The only 3 issues came out,
Okay. Oh, I
so
see.
so it's going to be the full entire thing. So
All right. So basically, you're getting the entire miniseries. So you're gonna have the first 3 issues reprinted. They came out in the comic in Walmart, and then
yeah,
you got the final 3 issues. So you have 6 issues of material in there.
yep,
All right. Now I got it. See, that was a tough thing about the Allegiance art stuff. Is it was I didn't have a Walmart handy around here, so it's like I never really got there. I bought one time I went in there. I did find the Bass Reeves, and that's where I got the copy that I have. Bass Reeves #1,
yeah.
but I haven't read any other ones yet. So now I'm just going to wait for this to come out.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. This last issue I'm working on is kind of like, if I had to describe it as something, it's like my Sin City version because there's so much black in it, so it's going to be really cool.
When you say there's so much black in that, are you talking about Bass, or are you talking about?
No, just the environments and what's
I
going
know.
on.
Was joking.
Oh, okay.
See, that's what I get for trying to do a racially insensitive joke.
Yeah,
I'm just
you
no good.
got to hit it just right.
That one. So it's now is that thematically because it's such a dark story, or what?
Yeah, because it winds to this point in Bass's story that you already know, that most people know, that he had to. I'm going to just tell it, but I'm not going to say how it happens. It's when he goes to arrest his son, and so the journey of him finally coming to this situation to where he has to arrest his own son. It gets,
Wow.
it's a dark moment, but it's also just a dark environment. So
No, I'm curious to see that. I mean, obviously, I'm a big fan of your work, so that would be really cool to your Sin City version. I dig that. That sounds cool. Now, your partner in crime there, Kevin Grievous, who's writing it. Now, he just announced something. Did he get a television show or something?
yeah, he directed a film. It's not out yet, but I guess on I don't know what it is. Just the idea of whatever this movie is, it got people interested in making it a television series, which is really cool.
Well, has he revealed anything about the what it's about or anything, or is that like?
It's called The King of Killers, and it's just basic. It's almost kind of like a John Wick type thing, and it's like, here's this one main guy, and he something akin to that, but it's like, okay, remember in Game of Death with Bruce Lee, where he had to go all the different levels and all these different killers and all this.
Right. Yeah.
One is better than the other one, the last one. It's kind of like that, So they want to base a TV show off of it, off of the main character and stuff. And I think there's going to be some comics and all that kind of stuff. So
is this his creation or?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. That's a big deal. He's not just directing it, but it's his own material.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, good for him, man.
Absolutely. I mean, I've known Kevin for a long time, and so this has been ruminating with him for a long time. So for all those people in the chat or who are going to watch it later, this all of this type of stuff is a serious process. It takes time and heartbreak and all this other kind of stuff, but he had the tenacity and found the persons who wanted to put this out and got it out.
That is cool, because I mean, anybody who's ever even been loosely associated with Hollywood knows how difficult it is to get anything done.
Yeah. And the movie is the first Kevin's directorial debut, so it's his first thing he's ever directed.
Now, hang on a second. So they're doing a movie, then a follow-up television series after that?
Yes, that's how it's going.
Okay,
So
I
yeah, so he pitched the movie, got it done, got to direct it, got to write it, and those same people got it into the hands of people who produce television shows, and I guess they're doing a television show.
okay. So he's is this okay? So this is going to be a is this like a Netflix movie or is this actual theater release movie at this point, or do we know?
I'm not sure at this point. You know, he didn't.
It doesn't really matter. I mean, because I always end up streaming them anyway. So
Yeah, exactly. But it depends on, I guess, the audience early screenings of it, and I think that'll
Right.
determine it. And I think a lot of these movie studios and these people who own some of these things get some sort of saying, "Yeah, I'll put this in my theater." You know what I mean?
Right, right.
It gets distributed or whatever. So we'll see. It doesn't matter as long as he's getting paid, and.
As long as it gets out there. I mean,
Yeah.
as I was saying on another stream recently, I mean, I went and saw that Idris Elba movie, The Beast, kind of Jaws in the jungle, and the Killer Lion, and we went in the theater, and it was like on a Friday night, and there was like, dude, there was like 4 people in the theater,
Wow.
and it's like, and then we went and saw Jaws in IMAX, which had the most people I've seen in a theater in a long time, and that was only about a third of full. And then we went and saw Wrath of Khan a couple days later, and there was 6 people in there, including the 3 of us that went. So, I'm just thinking, man, and these were like weekend nights, when you'd think that you'd have your biggest crowds, and it was tumbleweeds.
It's
So
crazy. But it's that, and then all of a sudden, Top Gun is it's still number one.
That's true, but I'm just curious if people are just getting, because of COVID and everything, people got so used to streaming that they're more comfortable doing that, and you've got to really.
There's a cautiousness, and because people don't want to see BS. They want to see something that's worth their money to come out of their house and all that other kind of stuff.
That's a good point. You may be onto something there because, like you said, Top Gun movie just blew up, like ridiculously, and I'm sure that Avatar 2 or whatever it's called is going to be big as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to see it for the the visual spectacle that I know it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think he generally makes movies just for that. Like, what is he going to bring to the table as far as technology and pushing it forward? I don't think it's about story for him so much because he does very rudimentary stories.
Yeah, I mean, Avatar wasn't that clever of a story, but it was just so beautiful, and it was a fine story. I mean, it worked. It wasn't, anything wrong with it, but it wasn't anything original. It was just, kind of a Western on an alien planet and, dances with wolves, that type of thing in it with a alien environment, but it was so freaking beautiful. And we went and saw that. And I think that's the only movie I've ever seen in 3D that was worth seeing in 3D.
Yeah.
We saw an IMAX 3D and it just blew my mind visually. So Daniel Russell says, I just went to see Clerks 3 and it was almost sold out. Well, that's shameful, but I wonder if it's just some theaters are doing better than others, because these were Regal theaters, and someone actually, I think last week when I brought this up, or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, in the chat said that Regal was closing down in a year. So maybe, that's, yeah. And that's a big theater chain.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where everything's changing so much because of technology and, of course, government interference in our lives, that it's hard to predict where we're going to be just, 3 years from now, what's going to be going on. So
that's true.
All right, dude. So what I did here is I kind of encroached Clayface into your Batman drawing a little bit. You can see him.
Yeah.
It'll tie it in a little better, I think.
Yeah.
So there we go. The penciling was easy. Now I got to ink the crap out of this because it's going to be full of lines and bumps and
Are you
veins.
drawing that from scratch and just eyeballing, or did you light box it from the other one?
No. I just started over because I couldn't get the capes wouldn't line up. So I did it. I just kind of had an idea and thought, well, it's like I said earlier before you came on. This is like there's not a ton of structure with Clayface, so you can just kind of do whatever, and it kind of works. So I was just able to kind of shape his body the way I needed it to fit in here, and I think must be pretty cool. And I'm going to put this up for auction, unless I buy it myself outright. But at some point, I don't know where, but. So saying I've already got like multiple David Williams pieces of artwork. So it's like, do I really need another one? And I'm kind of like, yeah, but I really like that Batman. So, knowing Shelley, she'll snipe a bid when it's up, and we'll end up with it anyway.
I think there's some people in the chat that might challenge you. Yeah.
Well, we'll find out. Maybe I'll do like an Aaron Con or something and put it up and kind of announce a week ahead of time and see what kind of action we can get for it. Stat Zero says Clayface is one of the most fun things to draw, and he is. You know, I tried to get David Finch to do a piece in my book several years ago at Seattle, and I knew it was going to be a challenge, but that's why I said, hey, do me Clayface, because I figured that'd be easy. You know, it's just kind of more of a doodling type sketch. You don't really have to be all necessarily structurally sound. And I knew Finch would still make it look really, really cool. But yeah, he didn't do it. So long story short, he's dodging me now. He owes me a sketch and he dodges me when I see him. Dude, I'm not mad. You don't have to like pretend I'm not here.
Man, can you get him on your show?
Oh, God, I should reach out to him and ask him.
Tell him to do that instead.
Yeah. Come on my show and draw on my show and give me whatever you draw. Well, we traded sketches, you know, and I did mine for him and gave it to him, and I never got mine.
Yeah.
But I don't hold grudges, Dave. I just kind of, you know.
You know,
He's a good guy, you know.
Who? Finch? Yeah.
Yeah. And I
only
love
met him at a distance a long, long time ago.
You met him at a distance, you said?
Yeah. He seemed nice.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised that when I talked to him, he knew who I was, and I was like, whoa, dude, you're now my favorite artist.
Yeah.
Anytime I go and talk to an artist I admire and they know who I am, I'm like, yeah, now you're really my favorite artist.
Yeah. I don't know why you underestimate yourself and your popularity.
I don't know. You never know if anybody's reading your book or not, you know? I do now. I know exactly how many people are reading my book. But
exactly.
At Marvel and DC, you have no idea, you know, if people are, you know, it's like you're working on Wonder Woman, right? And are the people reading Wonder Woman because, oh, they really like my art, or are they just reading it because they really like Wonder Woman? I happen to be the artist. So
they definitely liked your art. Like I said, you brought, you know, yourself and a little bit of that Alphonse Mucha, a little bit of Adam Hughes, all of that type of feeling towards it that is very favorable for that type of character. And so, you know, that's what made it, you know, really cool, is that you're feeding into the expectations that people felt about that character. At least that's what my impression of it.
Well, when you say that, it's I did talk to fans, and they were very appreciative of my treatment of the character. But again, you never know that. I mean, sure, there's probably hasn't been a Wonder Woman artist they didn't like. You know what I mean? So, but it's always nice, obviously, to get positive reaction from something you're doing. Because there's certainly enough people out there waiting to give you a negative reaction just for the sake of doing it.
For sure.
Survive Infinity 0088 says, "Hail Aaron, Brohawk, and chat. Rolled everybody into one hail." Evil One says, "Dave is a humble guy." Dave is a humble guy, but you know what? Talented people don't have to tell you how talented they are. So Daniel Russell says, "Sludge and Mystic was my intro to Aaron's work." So Daniel's been with me a long time. I appreciate that, man. Evil One is art directing me. He says, we need some stress tears in Batman's cape.
There you go.
Yeah, okay. All right. Planet Hulk looked great. I had no idea who you were and never heard anything but praise for the art. Well, thank you, Danky. It's Danky Frankie. Appreciate that. Paul Brillart, who's a engineer, so he knows what he's talking about. He says, "There are lesser Wonder Woman artists. You are one of the best." Well, thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. I wasn't fishing for compliments, but I'll take them anyway. Danky says, "I had no idea who you were when I bought your monster book for my niece." Well, now you know. Now you know, Danky.
And knowing's half the battle.
Love that Mudpack 4-parter. Is he talking all the way back to wasn't that oh dang, who did Prime? Jeez.
Norm Brayfogle.
Yeah. Didn't Norm do that Mudpack? Wasn't that like one of the first things he started on?
Was it?
I think so, because it was it was an annual or something, and then it became a storyline in Batman for. I'm almost sure that was Brayfogle. People in the chat, let us know, because I know you guys know. Clayface in the Batman animated series was really great. They really molded his character into an interesting villain. You worked on that, didn't you, David?
Yes, I did.
There you go. Here it is, right here. It's one of my favorite action figures, right there, man. Bruce Timm. So, did you do design work, storyboarding? What did you do on?
I only storyboarded one time, and it was rough. It was on the second season of Batman, and it was a Mr. Freeze story. But I was mostly doing character designs.
So would Bruce Timm give you like style guides, and then you'd met to make sure that your character sort of fit into that guide, or how did that work?
No, I mean there was a thing that he did where he broke down how he does things, and if you get lost, you go back to that. But he would generally, him or Glenn would probably do the main characters. And sometimes when it got too big of a show, he would let me or Tommy Tahaya or there's another character artist. I'm blanking right now. But anyway, and it was me. And we would just do all the, ancillary characters, because there's a lot of background characters and stuff like that. So we'd be working on those. And those would often get recycled when, like, some of those would move over to the Superman show.
Mm-hmm.
And, I put myself in a couple of shows. I ended up in both shows, I think, at some point. I was a thief in one and just a background character in another. It was fun. But it was more of a learning experience than something that I would say, I want to do this, forever. Because I am a bit of an egomaniac. I know that person earlier was saying, I'm humble, but no, you have to be somewhat of an egomaniac to want to just, no, I'm doing the art and I'm this guy and I want my name in the credits,
Right.
and it's just me.
Yeah.
But when you're doing an animated thing, it truly is a team effort, and you get kind of lost in the shuffle of all the people what it takes to make that thing. And, my ego is like, I don't want to share this glory,
Well, isn't that kind of the joke that every comic book artist wants to be an animator and every animator wants to be a comic book artist?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. Yeah, it's true. I remember John Romita Jr. What wanted to do some animation and was talking to Bruce Timm, but I think he priced himself out of it.
that was who? John Romita Jr. Did you say?
John Romita Jr. Yeah,
But he wanted big bucks, right? And they're
yeah.
like, yeah.
I think he should have just took the job just for a little while and then moved on, because he would have always had a place to come back to in comics. But I think it would have been a nice learning experience, and he could have had that and took it to Marvel Animation, and he could have been some big muckety muck in that arena over there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing. I mean, I think at some point, and again, it's like you just said about ego to a certain point. That can get in the way sometimes of maybe making a good choice, because you're right. John Romita Jr. could go back to comics anytime he wanted, regardless of what he did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except maybe if he joined Comicsgate. But other than that, but he just to have just to do something that's like a different experience, and especially something like that where your work. I assume he would probably wanted the style of the animation to look like his work, would be my guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man, that would be really cool. It's kind of like saying, do you want your own action figure? You'll take less money, but you'll get your own action figure. I'd go, yeah, okay, I'll do that, just so I can, get into that. Yeah,
exactly. But a lot of people don't think that way. And, John Romita doesn't have to think that way. He could definitely go back over to Marvel or DC and say, hey, I want to do this book, but I need toys made of this and this, that, and the other, if you could have me back. There's not too many people who could do that.
no,
He's one of them. He's one of them.
Yep, that's so totally true. So, yeah, he's not hurting either way, but
he earned his place to make either one of those places his personal playground.
Yep. Now, speaking of animation, have you seen, and I have not seen this other than clips, but Genndy Tartakovsky's that caveman thing?
Yeah. Primal?
Yeah, have you seen that?
I saw some of it, but I haven't seen it all. For some reason, it didn't. I love it visually. It just didn't captivate me yet. I'm gonna watch it all. And,
have you seen like a single episode yet, or just clips of it?
I saw the first episode.
Oh, okay. Well, I remember. Okay, I love Dexter's Lab, but when he was doing Samurai Jack, it never really captured me the same way that. I mean, I didn't mind it, but I wasn't. I mean, to me, Dexter was like must see TV.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, I thought the show was so funny, and it had so many great comic book references to it. And but I thought Samurai Jack was cool, but I mean, especially his directing style, what he did with it, and but I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just not a big samurai guy. That stuff never really. I mean, I don't mind it, but caveman stuff with dinosaurs, that's way more interesting.
Yeah, that's the closest thing to Commandy that we could get.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I've seen some of the parts of the episode, and it's like really super bloody and stuff, which I think is kind of funny.
Yeah. I loved Samurai Jack. I was addicted to that and Dexter's Laboratory. And,
Mhm.
I even liked Powerpuff Girls. I know that wasn't his, but I I liked all of that stuff because um, to me, remember when were you there? Was it yesterday when Ethan was showing the clips of the old uh, uh, jingle cartoons and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I was there.
That's how Gendy's stuff kind of looks. You know, it has that
Yes.
feeling
Yeah.
of
Yes.
cartoons of yesteryear.
Yes.
And
That's why I
so
like it so much.
that's why I was gobbling it up and I was like, oh, this guy gets it. You know what I mean? He's very cool, you know. So
Hang on a second. RH Snow's in the chat. She's an author, and just popping in from the conventions before I go to bed to say I love you all, and I am so proud of the work you do, Aaron and David, and also to say hi to Shelly because she's awesome. Thank you, RH.
thank
You're
you.
tremendous, and we love you too. So thanks for taking the time to drop in. And she also says Jendi is a gem of storytelling animation genius. I kind of get the feeling he's sort of based. Don't you kind of get that feeling? I don't know where he's at politically or anything, but I kind
Yeah.
of get that vibe from him, which I kind of like.
I'm not making any claims towards any of that stuff. Every time I did, I was wrong.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I'm like, yeah, no.
Well, but there's like Hollywood liberal, which you expect, and then there's people that are not like that, but they're still in Hollywood, so therefore they're not conservative, but they're not total left wing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wonder if maybe he's kind of in that gray area a little bit.
I think he could just be a person who appreciates the era that we came from very much. And he's just not saying anything. He doesn't have to rock any boats, so to speak.
Well, yeah. Why would you? I mean, you take especially if you're in a position he's in where he's very successful and has a lot of work and power to get projects done and stuff. It's you don't want to cut your own throat unless you have to.
I'm not looking at any reference, and I don't know if I'm doing this right or not. But
Which one are you doing? Superman or Iron Man?
Iron Man.
Dude, you're right on the money. Just don't give him the nose. Keep the nose out of there. Dude, you're right on the money. Yeah.
Well, it's not really a nose. I'm just showing that it bevels.
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing. Yeah. Do you want me to bring up a quick reference?
No.
Take a look at it.
No, if I got it, I think I
think you got it. I mean, he's got those discs on his hip, right? They're attached to his belt.
Oh, that's the thing I forgot. Doggone it! Thank you. I knew it was looking kind of naked. I was just like, ugh.
And he does have sort of underwear type design.
Yeah, that's what I did.
With the stripy
boxer
thing.
Shorts.
Yeah, they're more. Yeah, that'll work. They're more like bikini type, like superhero normal underpants, like Superman or something. But they have lines.
Really? Oh, I thought you had them like they were just slightly like. Okay, I could go higher.
Hang on a second. I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to bring up Iron Man #1.
All right.
Let me take a quick look at this. Let me see if I get a big enough picture here. Is that it? There we go. That's what I'm looking for right there. All right, hang on. Here we go. Okay, can you see that? Or is it too small?
Yeah, I can see it.
See how he's got and there's it has horizontal stripes on it.
Yeah, okay. You're right.
So it's not exactly bikini shorts, but they're pretty high up on his thigh. All right, you got it?
Yes, sir.
All righty. So you started off working in comics, right?
Yes.
So I know you jumped over to Warner Brothers right about when Malibu was going under, or
Yes.
somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well, so why? What drew you in? I know I've asked you this before, but I need a refresher. What drew you into, instead of staying in comics, but jumped over to Warner Brothers?
Well, when I was living in Cali, and I was having a tough time at first, between the Malibu and I moved out, and I went and lived with my mother and father-in-law briefly, and I had to reassess, get my balance again.
Yeah.
And then I had friends who were in animation, but I never thought to say, "Hey, hook me up with a job," because my whole mindset was comic books.
Right.
And I didn't make the connection or the assumption that some of these guys are rolling in dough. I figured they were just like me, and so, um, and one of my friends who was in animation, um, saw that I was struggling and never even made the connection. Say, "Hey, man, come and work in animation," and he would always go, "Hey, do me a drawing in my sketchbook," that kind of thing, and I'm like starving. And so I was just like, all right, forget all this noise. And then I came out and I said, I got to go try to get some animation work. Um, and I stayed with a friend at his place for a little bit, and I got hired by this small animation company. And one of the owner, or the main owner of it, was what's his name, Kevin Eastman.
Oh yeah.
And I think that, yeah, that studio went under. But the day I got hired, I called Bruce Timm and said, "Hey man, I'm in town and I just got an animation job over." And I didn't think I had knew Bruce Timm already because I had met him at a party before, and I introduced myself and I told him some work that I did. He goes, "Oh, you're that guy? Oh man. Hey, if you're in town, here's my number," and that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when I told him I'm in town, but I got a job, and he's all, "What?" And I told him, "Yeah, they're paying me, such and such." He goes, "Oh, I'll double that. You come and work over here." I'm like, "What?" And then I had to go and tell the guy, I said, "Hey, Bruce Timm just told me that he's willing to double my," he said, "You better go take that job." So he didn't feel bad letting me go to go do that and stuff,
Yeah.
even though he just hired me that day.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And so,
Well, you got to figure that there's so many people that want those gigs that, after you left 10 minutes later, you had someone to replace you,
yeah. But it was cool. And I liked the smaller studio. It was nice. But this was like going to college after grade school. You know what I mean? This
Right.
train was already well oiled and running, and you better come correct or not at all. And it was one of those situations, like, you, no matter how good you were in comics, that didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Because you had to put all that pride aside and ego and all this kind of stuff and say, you have to do it this way or get out. And they were like looking at my stuff like, okay, you got that line wrong. You got to do it like this. And they put overlays and like this and explain
Did
it
you
to.
feel like pressure, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get fired if I don't do this right? Or
Oh
did you?
yeah, for the first like couple months, I thought I was, but surprisingly, I caught on relatively fast. And I told Bruce, I said, look, you know, I'm going to come out of here knowing how to draw like you, as good as you are, if not better. And he's all good luck. It was never the case. There's never going to be another Bruce Timm. So.
No.
But I was just trying to let him know that I'm up for the challenge. You know?
Yeah.
And he was a very good teacher. He was a little bit more patient than
Well, he
Glenn
respected
Merrick.
your work. And I think that probably had a lot to do with it. I said he respected your work, and that probably had a lot to do with how much patience he had, you know?
Yeah, I mean, but Bruce is kind of like an even keeled type person. He's very straightforward. There's no BS about him, you know. And he just very like, it's like this, you know, and there's no anger or attitude in his, you know, teaching or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike other people I worked through over the years where they're just like terrible teachers, you know.
Right.
And that's how it should be, even especially if you're having new people in there. You should always be a good teacher, you know.
Yeah, I would. Well, I mean, Bruce is a confident guy. He's had a lot of success. So it's like, it's not like he's worried about someone coming in and taking his job, you know? So you can
Exactly.
you don't want to have someone in a position of authority that needs to train people that's worried about losing his job to one of his, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't think he would ever be that in that situation. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I met him. I sat next to him at a Seattle Con many years ago. We just happened to be, by happenstance, right next to each other on the head of this table. And so we got to talk quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like I hadn't seen him like in a couple of years. And then like the last San Diego before COVID, I was walking out in the lobby and he comes up behind me and goes, "Hey, Aaron, what's up?" And I'm like, the first thing I said to him is, "Bruce." I was like, "Dude, I can't believe you remember me." So, you know, we walked and talked. He got a kick out of that, but it was, you know, he's always been, I don't, like I said, I don't know him real well, but he's always been really cool, you know, to me when I've had interactions.
He's one of those guys, he just loves comic books and he just loves the biz.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he knows he's welcome in both lanes, but he's still very appreciative and in awe of comic book artists, you know. So he's good that way, you know. And of course,
like I said, anybody that remembers me or knows who I am, I have, you know, massive respect for.
Yeah. But so yeah, that was, you know, my experience. I recommend it highly to all comic book artists. If you could get into animation just for a little time, you know, and come back and bring it what you've learned to comics.
Well, I think there is a lot to be taken from that, you know, because you're actually working on stuff that's going to be actually in motion, you know.
Yeah.
And rather than just kind of static imagery that you're trying to, I think there's, you know, going to film school, I learned a ton about visual storytelling. And when you're making a movie, you don't do the stuff that you do in a comic book, right? Because the idea with a film is you don't want to pull your audience out of the film because you're doing something, you know, all McFarlane-y or something, right? Whereas in comics, I mean, that's a rule of thumb in comics as well, but there's also that sort of visceral coolness that you want your art to have to kind of call attention to itself in certain ways. And so, I mean, I learned a lot about clarity of storytelling
Mm-hmm.
by, being in film, and learned a lot about writing as well, because I took a ton of screenwriting classes. And so, yeah, getting that sort of an education, whether it's by doing it like you did or going to school like I did, there is an advantage to what it enables you to bring to comics.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Because it really does make you more focused on storytelling and how important that really, really is. Because I think we see in the modern artists, and I complain about this a lot, there's a ton of really talented artists working in comics, but I don't think that they're necessarily great comic book artists,
Mm-hmm.
They're all about drawing really well, but they're not necessarily all that great about storytelling. And it's more to them about the single image and how nice they can make the single image look. And I have an appreciation for that, but it doesn't necessarily turn into exciting or visceral comics. And I think that's so important to have a successful comic. You have to have those elements.
For sure. For sure.
I mean, one of the things that I was never a huge McFarlane fan, but the one thing I appreciated, I mean, like how he did capes, for example, right? There was always this just ridiculous exaggeration of the cape was 100 miles long and it was blowing all over the place. But it was such a cool image and it was so kinetic, It's a way, and I do that with hair a lot. My character's hair is always blowing in the wind. It's never just laying flat on their head, because it helps create a sense of energy and movement when there really isn't any.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that stuff is, you can sit there and draw a cape that really, look at the folds and it's beautiful and blah, 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 but there's no movement, there's no dynamism in it. And so it's like a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
So,
what was that first superhero book he did? It was a DC.
Tachyon?
Was that it? No, it was a superhero group. It had like Star Spangled Kid in it, and it had
Me?
Infinite. What? Wait, what? Someone in the chat knows what it was. It was.
I don't even know. No, wait a minute. The first thing I did.
Not the thing McFarlane did.
Oh, the first thing McFarlane did. Okay, I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, no, he did, they did that Invasion thing, didn't he? That Alien? For DC, it was Invasion. Was the first thing I ever saw him do.
I thought it was a group book with, he took over
Infinity Inc. Infinity Inc.
That's it. Yeah,
There
yeah.
it is. Okay.
Now, some of the storytelling he did in that blew me away. I was just like, whoa. Like some of the panel layouts that he was doing, I was just like, who is this guy? It was really, really cool. I mean, not, like some of the figure work, I was just like, meh. But what he was willing to do and just push this thing was just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that he brought obviously a very unique voice. And I always liked his design sense and his layouts. I thought were always really, really cool.
Yeah.
Now, Evil One says, my friend that went to animation school told me it was the worst investment of his life and said to just take illustration classes. Well, yeah, but David's talking about actually working in animation as a learning experience, not necessarily going to school for anything anymore is not necessarily you're going to get the best teachers or the best instruction.
Yeah.
Son of Liberty Radio says, isn't it late for you old guys to be streaming?
Huh.
Yeah, but we're young at heart.
There you go. What time is it?
It's
like
quarter to 10.
10:48 over here.
So you're an hour ahead of me.
Yeah.
Vaughn says, the very first book, I assume he's talking about McFarlane was All-Star Squadron telling the Dr. Fate origin.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
But no, the Infinity Inc. one was the one I was thinking of. But yes, he did do an All-Star Squad. But you're right. Yeah, I'm not all that learned on Todd McFarlane.
Well, not as really so. I remember the Invasion stuff because it had that funky alien with all the teeth on the cover and that kind of attention. And then I know he did some Batman, a couple issues of Batman or Detective or something. And he had that. Yeah, it might have just been a cover. With that cover, he had that girl sort of in his arms, and the cape was just all over the place. And then I think he jumped over to Spider-Man right after Invasion, I think.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. I remember when I first saw his work and was like, I mean, anybody that goes and does something really unique always catches your eye, whether he's a great draftsman or not. You know, it's, Jay Lee's stuff when he first came out was kind of funky, but it was still very different. So it caught your eye, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, because you can look at McFarlane's drawing, and I remember because I used to be such a purist, you know. It's like, well, if it doesn't look like John Buscema, then it sucks, kind of thing. But I looked at McFarlane's artwork, and I was like, I didn't like the drawing, but there was something undeniably interesting about what he was doing.
Yeah.
I was buying Spider-Man, and I was reading it with, McFarlane art in it in every issue, you know. There was a lot of cool stuff. You know, Venom came out at that time, and I guess Todd created the character or co-created it with David Michelini, I would assume. I don't know whose idea it was initially, but now the 90s were cool. I mean, there was a lot of optimism and hope in the industry. I mean, the industry was just booming and people were making a fortune. I wasn't, but
hardly any politics.
Yeah, exactly. It was just all about, outdoing the other guy to come up with the coolest idea and the most energy in your art and all that kind of stuff. And there was a lot of work to be had because, they were producing so many books and they were selling so many copies. They were just like cranking stuff out. And so it allowed guys like me that were probably really not ready or developed enough to get work anyway. And so then I have the horror of, some really crappy artwork out there because I never should have been hired in the first place. But thankfully, I was a quick learner. Started figuring out what my problems were pretty quickly and addressing them.
Did I ever tell you my Michael Golden story? My first meeting with him.
Now I want to hear it though.
I was working on Jaguar for the
Yeah.
Impact line.
Was he the art director at DC at that time?
Yep.
Okay.
And Brian Augustine was talking to me on the phone because I was always talking about, Michael Golden. And, he said, hey, guess who just walked into the office? It's Michael Golden. I was like, what? Really? Oh, my gosh. He goes, you want to talk to him? I was like, really? Are you playing? No, he's like, yeah, he's right here. He hands the phone over to Michael Golden.
Oh, boy.
And Michael Golden had just did a Who's Who piece, but it was of one of my villains that I did in Jaguar. And I was just like, oh, Mr. Golden, you're so awesome. You're great. And this and that. And, I'm just gushing over this guy. And he's all,
Right.
And he's all, yeah, I really like this character that you came up with. Great job. And he was like ready to get off the phone and stuff like that. But I said, I turned into Chris Farley, and I said, hey, that that cover you did on, whatever it was at the time and stuff like that. And I was just going down the line of stuff. "Oh, that was awesome!" And he goes,
It was so awesome.
and then he goes, "So is this an interview?" And I said, "No." "Okay, good." Click, and he hung up on me.
Oh, that is so Michael. That is
Yep.
so Michael. Jeez, he has mellowed so much in his old age. It just cracks me up, the stuff that.
And I told him that story, like a few years ago and stuff like that. And he goes, "Yeah, that sounds like me." And I said, "Hey, I still love you for it. I didn't hate you for it." And he said, "Why would you?"
I know he is that guy is a gem, man.
That's why we gotta keep continually browbeating Gabe over
Gabe.
not liking Michael Golden.
That's right. Well, you gotta understand Michael Golden, because I was never not a fan of his stuff, but I became a greater fan the more I got into it. Because to be honest with you, I didn't really see a ton of his stuff growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a couple of the Batman family, like did a Man-Bat story or whatever. And I thought it was kind of funky looking. So like I said, it was kind of cool. But some of his, like, I never saw that Doctor Strange issue he did. What was it, 54 or 56, where Terry Austin inked it?
Yeah.
Gosh, so good. And I mean, I never saw that until much, much later. And because the thing with Michael was that he jumped around a lot.
Yeah.
He wasn't like, until the NAMM, he wasn't really a regular artist on any book. He would do an annual, or he'd do a Marvel fanfare or whatever. So it might have been that I just was not really aware of what he was doing.
Yeah.
Because by the time he was really coming into his own, I was graduating high school and wasn't reading as much comics.
Yeah.
And so I sort of missed it, and then kind of rediscovered him later. And
but I just love the fact that he was always getting better.
yes,
He
Yes.
never downshifted.
yeah. I mean, it's guys would Wrightson's a perfect example where he had those just incredible prime years, and then by 1980 that was about it. And then, but Golden, he started off with this kind of what I would call a Play-Doh-y, lumpy kind of style, and then it became like super hard-edged and stylized and really super cool. Yeah, I mean, he was just like, I mean, you like to see artists that, maybe start with some fanfare, but then continue to grow. You don't see that a lot. I mean, some guys hit it big early in their careers, and then they just sort of plateau and say, "Hey, this works for me," and they keep doing it. But Golden, man, he just like kept going to a next level, and then then he did that run on Detective or Batman covers. That would have been in the early 90s, when he was still art director at DC. Did you see the Batman annual story? Mignola did the cover for it, but they hired some guy, and actually this is when I first met Michael, the very first time I met him. They had hired this guy to do this story, and it had like Nazi zombies in it and stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the guy turned the job in, and I guess it was so bad that Michael was inking it, but he was also redrawing some stuff, moving panels around and shifting the storytelling. What an awesome story. I actually got to see him working on that story.
Really?
He had pages on his drafting table, and he was showing me where the guy screwed up in the storytelling and how he moved some panels, and that was really, he changed my career. I mean, he did, because he gave me advice that I understood. He was the first person that actually communicated clearly to me, or at least in terms that I understood, to how to change my art and make it professional. Mm-hmm. And without him, I don't know that I ever would have got there the
Wow.
way that I did, or as quickly as I did.
That's awesome.
hmm So I owe him.
I don't owe Michael Golden. No, just
You
kidding.
He owed you. I mean, he took your character you designed. Was that cat girl or something? You're talking about that page in Who's Who? Wasn't it like
It was a villain, X-13 or something like that. He was in all black or something like that.
okay? So it wasn't that chick character that he did in Who's Who.
No, because that's Jaguar.
Yeah. Okay. Because that was Fraga was saying that was like his favorite piece, and he had this really kind of tragic horror story about how he was supposed to buy that piece from Glenn Danzig, and Danzig sold it out from underneath him, and
Wow.
it was like his dream piece that he always wanted, his Grail piece, and Danzig had it, and he said, I told him how much it was like 800 or whatever, and he only had like $500 on him. He said, well, look, I got to go to the ATM and get another 300. I'll be right back. He said, will you hold it for me? And Danzig said, yeah, sure. So he goes out to the ATM in the lobby, gets the money, comes right back in. He said he was gone like maybe 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, here's the money. And Danzig said, what's that for? And he goes, come on, dude, the golden page. And he goes, no, I just sold it. And he thought he was messing with him, right? And he's like, no, seriously, dude, here's the money. He goes, no, I sold it. He goes, to that guy right there. And there was a guy standing right there holding the page.
Wow.
And, Fraga was just so pissed. And so he said he offered the guy that had it like double the money for it. The guy wouldn't sell it to him.
Dang.
Yeah.
He should have socked Danzig in the face like that one guy did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one thing you say to somebody, hey, will you hold it for me? And then, you say, I'll hold it for you for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because if you don't come back, I'm not, because, people most of the time don't come back.
Sure.
But to sit there and say, yeah, I'll hold this for you. He said, I'm going to the ATM. I'll be right back. If someone else comes up and wants it, you say, well, I'm giving this guy 10 minutes. If he doesn't show up, then it's yours, kind of thing.
Exactly.
But to just sell it out from underneath the guy, like without even giving him a chance to come back in a reasonable amount of time, that was pretty rude.
You know why he did that to Fraga?
Why?
Because he's black.
He's black at heart.
Yeah, Black Ops.
He's the black flag.
To this.
He's the black flag. Let's see. Evil One says Michael Golden's Punisher number 50 cover is so badass. I'm trying to think of which one that is, because he had a string of Punisher covers that were just incredible. Sequential Treasures. Now, hang on, dude. There's 2 issues of Doctor Strange. One, he did the entire issue. The second one had the backup story that Craig Russell inked. So 55 might have been, well, what issue was it? I've got it in my closet, but I'm not going to get up to pull it out right now. But yeah, you're right. There was that one that he did the full issue on is the one I'm talking about. The Craig Russell story is cool, but that full issue he did was just nuts. And you saw the Christmas story he did with Wolverine, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my.
Everybody did.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. That was so nuts. You know who owned that entire story?
Scott Williams.
No, he probably does now, but no, it was John Dell.
Oh, really?
Owned that whole story, but he had to sell it, and that which means Scott Williams has it.
Yeah.
Scott has
there would be no way I would sell that.
Well, dude, you never say never, right? I mean,
that's the one that you just go, I gotta lock it away and not even know I have it.
well, I mean, I had some rights and originals that I would never sell, and I sold because I was out of work and I needed money. I could have been like some of these other people and just do GoFundMe's, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm joking because I would never do something like that. If I had money, I still would never do something like that. But I know there's people that have done GoFundMe's that we were talking about this, I guess, was it Peter David or somebody did one? And it's like, but it has like this really nice collection of art and stuff. And it's like, dude, you need to sell that first before you start asking other people to pay your bills, you know?
Wait, the Peter David did this?
Yeah, I can't remember. There was something came up. It was somebody was talking. I should be talking out of turn because I can't remember the circumstances because it wasn't my story, but it was somebody else's. But it was like, who told that story? It was just the other night too. But yeah, I mean, I'm just in general, I don't like that. It's kind of like I don't really feel it's other people's responsibility to pay my bills. I mean, if I'm offering them a product, you know, if I'm saying, hey, I'm in hard times, I'm selling this my artwork, you know, that's one thing because you're selling them something, you're providing them an exchange. But to just expect people to pay your bills because you don't want to sell your own stuff, it's like, I don't think so. Or if you have to, get a second job, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have as much empathy for that kind of stuff as I probably should, but I just went through a lot of, you know, challenging times myself and worked a lot of really crappy jobs to make ends meet. It's like you should be willing to do that before you're willing to beg. That's all I'm saying.
Sure. I hear you.
Unless you can't work. Now, I mean, that's another story, you know. People are handicapped or whatever. I'm not talking about that. But
Yeah.
better get off my soapbox before I fall off it.
This is one of the reasons why I got Gary Martin inking me right now because I make such a mess when I ink.
Dude, you got fingerprints on this Batman page. You know that?
I know.
I tried to erase them and I can't get them off. So you must have had ink on your fingers or something.
Make it into something. Make it like some dust or debris or something like that.
I have to. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't talk since I spilled water on mine. So
yeah, put some splatter effect action on there so people don't get my fingerprints and try to frame me for something.
That's right. His fingerprints are all over this Batman piece.
Yeah.
We knew it was him.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done any drawing like this forever, it seems like. There was that period of time where, you know, when COVID started and everybody was locked down and no one would go anyplace. And I was doing live stream sketching stuff all the time, you know, but then once I started working on Wraith of God, I have not done any. And I was like, this is all I was doing for like an entire year.
Yeah.
I kind of miss it. Because it's like, it's no pressure drawing, you know?
Yeah, maybe it should be a regular thing where you say, okay, I got to take a break from this thing just to do this one thing.
Yeah.
You know, just to give your mind a break.
You may be onto something. Well, and, you know, we help entertain the folks that are up late at night.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know,
Are they
watching.
still awake? Are we
What's
boring them to death?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how exciting this is, but I do know as an artist, the kind of things that I would get, you know, enamored with that other people would like, dude, seriously, this is boring. You're like, no, it isn't. It's really cool. Like Glenn Orbick. What a nice, did you know Glenn at all?
Yep.
What a nice guy.
Yeah.
I contacted him out of the blue because I really wanted to learn more about painting, and I was a huge fan of his stuff. He sent me for free. And I said, dude, I can't take this for free. I send him, you know, $40 or whatever to cover shipping. But he had a DVD where he sent me a DVD of him doing a painting,
Hmm.
step by step kind of thing that he like filmed like during one of his classes.
Yeah.
Because he taught at that what school was it down there in I want to say it was in Sherman Oaks.
Yep.
Can't think of the name of that school, but yeah, that was the one thing I was always really jealous of, because I was like, everybody would have like these really cool classes, but they're all in Southern California, and I was
Yeah.
up here in Oregon. It was like, I want to go take that guy's class.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I going to do? Rent an apartment for 3 months while I take his, painting class?
William Stout used to have life drawing classes at his house, and
Yeah.
it was
Uh,
pretty much open to anybody. And I went just a couple of times, and I just said, forget that, because they had like Disney animators and all these kind of really awesome guys. And I said, okay, I'm not awesome. These guys are.
Well, what was it, 96, I think, when we were in Studiosaurus in Portland. Terry Dotson and me and Shelly and Rachel Dotson, we went to LA for the weekend, actually to like movie poster shop and just kind of hang out in the Hollywood scene. And but I got in touch with Bill Stout and I said, hey, we're going to be down there, because he was working at Universal on Spielberg's. Remember they're doing those. They were doing these really elaborate video game places, the arcades.
Uh-huh.
And I think they built one in Seattle and never got any farther than that. But Stout was like full time at Universal designing this stuff, designing the buildings and, they were inside, but like, they had like pillars and all the weird stuff they were going to put in there. And so he was designing all this stuff.
Yeah.
So he was working at Universal, and he said, yeah, dude, come in, come by and see me and I'll show you, give you a tour and everything. We're like, oh, sweet. So, and it was so funny because he just put our name at the guard tower and we just drove up and they let us in. We told them our names. He goes, yeah, this is pre 9/11, right? So
yeah,
they were just like, yeah, go on in. And so we met him and we had lunch at the commissary there on Universal. And, we were standing in line to get some food, and there was these young actors in front of us, and I recognized the girl because it was the cast of the television show for Weird Science.
Oh, okay.
Right, because they were doing a TV show of that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so I recognized the girl, and she was right next to me in line. So I was talking to her a little bit, and then Shelly, it was so funny. She was up there talking to the guys from the show. She had no idea who they were. She's up there yucking it up with them, and they're having a good old time. And, we went back to the table, and I said, you know who those guys were? She's like, no. I went, oh, they're like the actors from Weird Science. I think she went, oh, my gosh. And so she got up and went over and, like, said, I'm sorry I didn't recognize you or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was kind of fun. And so he gave us the tour of the place. And then we went the next day over to his, because he has his house, but then he has that place that he owns where he does the drawing, the life drawing, right? That house in Pasadena.
Yeah.
But it has all of his artwork in it, right?
Yeah.
And so we came over there because we said, dude, when can we like come and check out your flat files and stuff, And he's like, yeah, come over to this house. We're doing life drawing on Sundays. You guys can come over and, check it out. And so Terry and I were like just rummaging through his flat files where they were doing the life drawing. And we weren't really paying attention, but we finally got the last 20 minutes we went in and did some life drawing, but it was not my purpose for being there.
Yeah.
Because we found all kinds of weird stuff. Like he did this promo painting of Schwarzenegger was going to do this pirate movie. And so he did like this promo painting of Arnold as a pirate, and for like, I don't know if they would use it for a movie poster, but it was just basically a production piece to kind of everybody get the feel for what it would look like,
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Maria Shriver was like, you're not playing a pirate in a movie. You're going to look like an idiot. Talked him out of it, and they never did it. But there was the art, you know. So we find stuff like that just all over the place, man. He just said, I mean, just tons of art everywhere. And so, and Mike Vosberg was there, and he was doing the life drawing, I remember. But he was the only guy I knew that was there that was doing the artwork, that was doing the life drawing. I don't know who, you know, there might have been some really, you know, big guys there that
Maria, come on. I want to play a pirate. Come on.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
Come on. Let me do it.
Let me do it now.
Ow.
But yeah, so I know what you're talking about. And he had that, oh my gosh, what a cool place to own, because it was like, it had that like big central room and then all the rooms off to the side that had like sliders that like blocked off the rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And those rooms were all full of his artwork and flat files. So yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah, it's I mean, even lesser artists, I don't even like saying that.
Yeah.
You like to see their process and their environment. It's almost like going to, like, if you're a magician, you get to go to another magician's thing and just, oh man, it's all new again. It's
right.
It's fascinating.
Well, dude, to me, it's like Disneyland. You know what I mean? It's just like, because we got the same thing. We went to Plug's house when he lived up in Seattle, and holy crap, did he have some stuff. We were going through his flat files. And the thing is, we went up there to visit him. He invited us up. It was me. Gary Martin was there. I don't know if Terry was there. I don't know. I don't think he was. He might have been. Terry might have been. I can't remember. And Richard Finn, who used to put on the Portland Comic Book Show. And Plug had been a guest there at the same time we were. And so we got to know him pretty well. At least I did. And so we all went up there. And like they served us lunch and everything. And he had this old, like 3-story, like 1800s house.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. And then he had a basement, and the basement was where he had all this artwork stashed. Like we were finding like Ghost Rider covers and stuff. It was incredible. Evil One says throws me $5. Thank you, Evil One. Thanks for a good time tonight. I've been really bummed, and this has really lifted my spirits and helped me escape the depression. Dude, I am glad we can help. Sometimes there's nothing like just telling old stories and drawing pictures to kind of take your mind off stuff. So I appreciate that very much, man. Old Man says, I wonder if an artist could sign some of their own comics and get them graded. Yeah. I mean, they would have to witness you doing it, but yeah, sure you could.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do that. Let's see here. So, but anyway, he had this studio. Plug had this studio outside his house, right? He had like a little, well, I don't know. It was like a workshop. I don't want to say a tool shed because it was way bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
And it had windows all the way around it. And he had like an island, like if you had like a kitchen with a kitchen island in it, right in the middle. And then it had all the cabinets all the way around the walls. So you had this, circular path around the island, and then all these drawers and tabletop stuff. Like it looked like, somebody who had like a wood shop or something might have a workshop or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all just art stuff. And it was when he had just finished that Santa Claus book,
Mm-hmm.
which is just, if you guys have not in the chat, if you guys have not seen that Plug Santa Claus book, you have got to look it up. It's called The Life and Adventure or The Life and Times of Santa Claus by Mike Plug. But you look it up on Amazon or eBay or whatever. It's just, what an inspiration that book was to me. And he had these originals just laying around all over the place. And then I was just begging him to sell me one. He was like, I don't want to sell them. So I stole one. And, but so we saw all that stuff, which was just killer. And then we went down in his basement and saw all the older stuff, right? And he had this Ghost Rider cover that it was just pencil. It had never been inked. And almost bought it so I could ink it, but I thought if I buy this and ink it and ruin it, I'm a total dick. So I said, no, I'm gonna talk myself out of it.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
also had at that time hanging on his wall that Cole King, or it was King Cole, but it was Cole number 11,
Uh-huh.
where he's, Cole's fighting all those guys in the cover. He's got his axe raised above his head in his bed chamber, and he's just hacking people. It's just a tremendous, tremendous cover. And he had this hanging on a frame on his wall. And it was weird because the arm where he was lifting up the axe was cut at the elbow and repasted on. Oh, sweet. Look at that. Oh, that's so nice. I don't have to buy that from you. So I asked him, I said, well, dude, why is this cut out? And he said, because he turned the original artwork in, and he had the axe where he was holding the axe above his head. Cole was. They had the axe was covering up part of the logo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And John Romita Sr. was the art director.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And instead of statting it, he took an X-Acto knife and cut the arm out of the logo and bent it down and re-glued it on so it wasn't blocking the.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I was so mad. I was like, oh, how could you not have respect? I mean, I understand it was a different time, but still, I guess Plug was pretty pissed about it too. I mean, I would be. I know, and it's such a great piece. I mean, it's like it may be one of the best cover, or maybe the best cover he's ever done. Now he doesn't have it anymore because I think I think our buddy Scott Williams may own it.
Oh, that's funny.
Because Scott owns everything, but yeah, it was really painful to see that. I'm going to bring the cover up because it's so wonderful. I must share it. All right, let's see here. All right, so here's the cover I'm talking about.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that arm, Cole's arm right here, this was extended up over the where the logo would be. And so he cut it out and then pulled it down and repasted it right there. Can you imagine getting the original artwork back on that piece? And seeing that?
I'd be livid.
Oh my gosh, I would be so mad. But somebody's got that cover now. I don't know who it is. It probably is Scott Williams. And this comic has like this splash page in here. It's so freaking awesome. I would love to have this splash page too from this
I think
issue.
between him, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, and Scott, those are the big art collectors in that group that were just the whales gobbling up some really great stuff.
Look at that.
Bruce Timm too. So, yeah.
Yeah, those guys, Tim Townsend has a pretty incredible art collection too, but he was getting all that X-Men art.
Yeah.
And I think Scott Williams was too, right? With Jim Lee, and they trade that stuff for this like Barry Smith stuff. But look at that, man. Look at that splash page. You kidding me?
Yeah.
I'd love to have that, but I bet that's probably a $40,000 or $50,000 piece now.
Sure.
It's out of my price range. But yeah, I Scott Williams art collection. If you guys haven't seen it, go over to Comic Art Fans and look up his gallery.
That's only some of the stuff that he's got.
I know, it's like he has the entire Wrights and Muck Monster story from Creepy.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, really?
That's why he's flexing on people. He's like, yeah, check this out.
Well, it's funny. I got a Wrights and poster, came out in '76 of this dragon sleeping in the woods, right? And there's these dudes with like their little swords and lanterns kind of behind the dragon looking at him. And it's called Shh. That's the name of the poster, right? SHHH, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was one of the posters I copied the most when I was a kid. And Mitch Ickowicz was when Wrightson got divorced in it was like 93 or 94, 94. I was still working on Sludge, so it was 93 or 94. And we were at San Diego, and Mitch Ickowicz had all this Wrightson stuff for sale. I mean, really good Wrightson stuff.
Yeah.
And so he had the original pencil to the painting, and it's a really tight pencil, right? The dragon is like completely finished. The woods behind him are not quite as done, but the dragon is completely finished. And it's a big, big piece, like a double page spread type size. And so he had it for sale for $650. So I bought it. I mean, that was like every penny I made at the show, but I was like, Shelly, this is like from my childhood, I've got to have this piece. And so I had it and hanging on my wall here for years. And when Shelly had to go on disability from work, we were kind of not really sure what was going on and finance wise. And I thought, man, I need to get ahead of some stuff here. And so I sold a bunch of stuff to kind of get a little bit of a nest egg. And it turned out that I didn't need to sell it. That's the really painful thing. But at the time, I didn't know that was going to be the case.
Sure.
And so I sold it to this guy for $2,500. And I paid $650 for it. So, I came out okay on it. But then, I don't know, a few years later, I'm looking through Comic Art Fans, and Scott Williams has it on his page.
Just say, hey, it's in a nice home.
Yeah, that's right, man. So I was just like, of course Scott has it now. But that's one of those things. It's probably now like a $10,000 piece, right? So it's like I couldn't even touch it if I wanted to now.
Yeah.
But
I mean, this is going to sound weird, but there's a point to where I think it gets so obscene to where I'm like, maybe nobody should have this stuff. It should be in a museum somewhere.
yeah, right. Exactly. It's like, those Ditko Spider-Man pages that he, for Amazing Fantasy 15, he just donated to the museum.
Yeah, it's like, after a while, it shouldn't even be about money. It should just, okay, everybody has access to come and see this, It's like, because they're just basically just hoarding this and putting it away and just, look at what I got over here.
Well, at least Scott shares this stuff on on his Comic Art Fans so we can see it. But yeah, and it's funny how much pop culture art, how much it's become a fine art collectible, And I wonder if Rosetta maybe started that. But I mean, everything is so freaking expensive, and I think somebody speculated several years ago that the reason that original art market in comics was going up so high was because there was so much movie money coming into it, which makes sense because a lot of the guys that are, like Frank Darabont, the director, huge Wrightson fan, he bought a ton of Wrightson originals, and those guys could pay whatever, they wanted to get it.
Sure.
And so suddenly guys like you and me are completely priced out of the market.
But the crazy thing is, I think, our generation, once they're gone, this stuff isn't going to be worth what, you know what I mean? Because these people, this next generation or my kids' kids, they didn't grow up with this stuff,
Well, they'll either fall out of favor or they'll become like super collectibles because everybody does everything digital now, right? So we're the dinosaurs, man. When we're gone, no one's going to be doing original art like this.
But that's what I'm saying. This younger generation doesn't seem to care about paper whatsoever or treasure in that way. So they'll be like, and these whales out here that are not making these prices outrageous is causing art dealers to say, oh, if I could get this and I could charge this for this thing over here.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's why I'm saying it's getting so obscene, you know.
Well, I look at myself as being the Kmart of original art. So
Yeah.
I'm affordable. But I never would have dreamt that, 10 years ago that I could get what I'm getting now for my originals, because $100 for, a page was a lot of money. Now it's like, I wouldn't sell one of my pages for $100. But I still don't. My stuff isn't really that expensive because I never. You have to have. You either have to have an art dealer, or you have to really think highly of yourself. And I've never really thought that highly of myself. And I always kind of felt guilty charging a lot of money for my art. But I've never been desperate to sell it either, So I just kind of. That's why I've never got an agent or anything.
Yeah.
I still have a ton of artwork, original artwork. I mean, a lot of the good stuff is gone. Like the Wonder Woman stuff is all gone except for the stuff that I kept. Planet Hulk stuff is gone except for the pages I kept. But I got a ton of Justice League pages that are really good. They got like Superman and the Flash and Wonder Woman on them. And then, of course, I keep all my Wraith of God stuff because that's the stuff that means something to me, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm keeping all the Bass Reef stuff, and
Well, it does feel different, It's like I said, we're doing this piece right here. It's got Batman and Clayface on it, and this is a nice piece. I mean, it's really gonna be a nice piece, but it's Batman and Clayface. You know what I mean? It's like we have no ownership of this, other than we think they're cool characters or whatever, like most people, but. It's a different story when you're doing your own character.
Mm-hmm.
It means more to you. And so it's, but I also understand I can't keep everything. So I'm going to sell some Wraith of God pages and some Garbage Man pages from this new story. But every page that I did of Garbage Man at DC, the original stuff that's in the trade paperback now, that I kept it all. I haven't sold any of it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not selling any of the Wraith of God story or from the original story. And then, but I'll sell some from subsequent ones because, like I said, I got like 4 flat files and they're all just full.
Yeah.
And it's like, at what point I need to get rid of some of this stuff? And there's people out there that really dig the stuff, So it's like, why not let them have it?
Sure.
Sequential Treasure says Aaron is cheap. He's just not easy. Yes, that's Chris Tucker says, you guys are making the case I feel about all digital drawings for comics. The line development and thought process is gone with digital. Think about not having any Kirby pages to see. I know.
That was Chris Thacker.
Oh, what did I say?
You said Chris Tucker.
Oh, Chris Thacker. Sorry, Chris. Oh, no, wait a minute. Evil One went over and says, it says Scott sold that Bernie piece in 2015. So Scott didn't even hang on to it. Someone else has it.
Wow.
Well, the piece I really want is the finished painting. And Albert Moy had it for years. I don't know if he still does, but he wanted something like 25 grand for it. And I was like, I mean, if I'd had the money, I'd buy it, but I just don't have that kind of money. Danky Frankie getting back to the Plug cover. He says, let it cover a little bit of the logo. What's the big deal? Well, it's not anymore, but back then in the 70s, it wasn't about being artistic. It was about, selling the book, and the logo had to be seen clearly. And, there were just certain rules, right? It wasn't, I don't think anybody was really looking at comic books back then as an art form, right? It was production art to sell a product. And it wasn't until later that, guys like Plug and Wrightson and Barry Smith and started doing stuff that was sort of next level. Neil Adams, people started realizing that this was more than just, some quick cartooning that someone threw out, And then when you start adding the nostalgia factor to it, that's when Kirby comes alive as a real expensive purchase for an art buyer. Buscemi used to be real cheap until he passed away.
Yeah.
And now his stuff it's not crazy expensive, but it's tripled in value from what it was selling when he was still alive.
Yeah.
He was at San Diego the year that he passed away. And he was supposed to be in Artist Alley, and I kept going. I went over there about 3 or 4 times during the convention trying to find him, and he was never at his table. And then, so I never got to meet him, and then he passed away a couple months after that, I think. 6 months after that or whatever, so I never got to meet him.
I think that was his dying wish. He said, just keep me away from
That's
Eric
right.
Lopresti.
That's right. Whatever you do, I'll do anything you guys want. Just don't let Lopresti near me. Well, I was at the same con, though. Marie Severin was there. And I did get her to do a piece for me. So I told her I was a big Not Brand X fan, which was the humor book they did in the 60s, right? Their own parody book.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved the stuff she did. So I had to draw a Goofy Hulk for me. It was called The Incredible Bulk. That's what that was his. Mm-hmm. And so she did one of those. And I still have the piece, but when we moved to Florida, it got jacked up, man, and it got torn. I know, it got torn, so it has a tear in it, so I'm really pissed, but I flattened it out, and I still got it, so.
Disrespecting artwork like that, boy.
Well, I kept all my art in my flat files, and then I sort of just taped them closed, but they just, the movers come in and they start throwing stuff around like it's a Frisbee. And so it got between the top of the drawer and the, where it slides in and out, and it got caught in there and tore. I know, I was very pissed. I also had a chance to buy some Ramona Fraden pages, like Metamorpho pages, at San Diego. She was sitting next to me, or near us, back in the 90s. And yeah, you were around back then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew you back then through Gary. But it was one of those times we went there as Studio Source. We all went together and sort of sat in Artist Alley together. And she was right around the corner from us. I don't know, man. The thing with me was when I went to San Diego especially, was I went there to make money to pay bills. Yeah. I did not go there to create fun money and buy stuff.
Sure.
Because I wasn't working all that regularly in the industry at that time. And so when I kept seeing all these great artists, it never occurred to me to get art from them, And then I missed the opportunity. Are you done? Or are you still working on it?
Are you done?
Oh, no. Well, I saw you pause there and I thought maybe you were done. You're going to. Oh, that's sweet, man. Sweet.
It's getting there.
Well, we still got 41 people watching, which is a pretty good number considering we're going up against the Jack show. So I appreciate all you guys hanging in there with us.
That's awesome. Thank you.
I'll take a minute here real quickly to do a little promotion. David, of course, has got Truth, Justice, American Way that's on Indiegogo right now. Let's take a quick look at that, if I can find it. It's in here. There it is. So there's the campaign at 120.89 right now. Let's see if we've got any action while we're drawing. Nope, we're mesmerizing people with our drawing skills. But the link for this campaign is in the description of this video, so please take a moment to check that out if you can. Also, my campaign, Wraith of God, Blood Hunters, is also live right now on Indiegogo, and you'll find the link in the description of this video as well. All right. That was my public service announcement. Also, you guys, do us the grand honor of liking and subscribing to this channel. If you're new around here and you have not subscribed to my channel, it doesn't cost anything, but I would appreciate it. In fact, I have a little public service announcement I'll run here real quick. Frankenstein says subscribe. So like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content that we are providing for you here tonight. And how could you not like it?
Exactly.
It's free drawing. So were you a victim of layoffs at Warner Brothers, or what happened there?
Oh, of why I left?
Yeah.
I had a problem with one of the line producers, and I was just like, personality clash. And I ended up leaving and went over to Sony and worked on Ghostbusters and then the beginning of Godzilla, and then left that because I went over to Warner Consumer Products because that paid more than all of that stuff. And I stayed there for the next almost 10 years.
So at that point, were you thinking that you were just going to settle in there and you were done with comics?
No. I always knew I was going to do comics. I just thought I was going to do my own at my own pace.
Right. And they keep that as a day job kind of thing?
Say again?
Keep that as a day job kind of thing while you were working on it?
Sure. Yeah. But, Marvel and DC were calling at that time, so I would do covers here and there, or maybe a backup story. Not anything so big to where it would take me from my day job.
Right.
Matter of fact, I'll tell you a story about that, where Bruce Timm and all those guys, they didn't like the fact that I was still, when you're doing the character designs, it's not the most taxing work in the world.
Right.
But I was doing, like, James Robinson wanted me to do a Starman story that he wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And I started it, and I was doing it when there was downtime in the character design department.
So were you working at Warner Brothers on this comic story while you were?
Yeah. And
Okay.
so certain people saw that,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they're like flooding me with stuff. And I was just like, where is this coming from? It was like they were almost making up characters just to give me, just so I wouldn't work on that. So I had to tell James, I was like, man, I can't do this thing. This work is not letting me do this. But it would have been.
So they didn't get outwardly pissed at you for doing it. They just gave you more work to keep you from doing it.
Yes.
That's
I
interesting.
thought that was kind of hilarious.
Now, was Jerome Moore working in the product art before you got here?
He was already there, and I was always trying to convince him to come into animation, and he wouldn't do it. He's all,
So did he jump? Because he was doing some work for Malibu. So did he jump into that consumer art right after Malibu, or was he doing it at
Yeah,
that?
a little bit right after that. Yeah, not
Yeah,
too
okay.
long after that.
That kind of work seems to suit him, though, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not around anymore, so he's all in animation.
Oh, so he's in animation now?
Yeah,
Well, I know he's always posting stuff, but I figured that was consumer product art or something because I figured he's
No.
still doing that.
no, that's all. He's been working on. He worked on Young Justice for years, and um,
Well, doing character design work, basically?
yeah, doing stuff for Marvel animation for years, and he's all over the place.
Yeah, because there was a period of time there where I got him to ink that Martian Manhunter thing I did with Marvin Martian,
Mm-hmm.
and so he must have had some downtime or something there. I would assume, anyway.
Oh yeah, no, he work in some things here and there, especially at consumer products. That would always happen. They'd have a flood of work, and you had to get it done, and then all of a sudden it would dry up at a certain part of the year. But you still had to pretend like you were doing something for the company. So they would come up with these kind of random, like unnecessary style guides to come up with.
Well, I mean, what are they going to do? Let you just sit there and do nothing and pay you? I guess they got to.
Yeah.
So that wasn't seasonal stuff because a lot of times the animation stuff is seasonal, right?
Yeah. No, consumer products was all the time, and they would always they had enough product to keep us busy, but they often just didn't.
Now, how much art direction did you get? I mean, did they say, okay, we need
Oh, a
this
lot.
this Batman drawing for these underoos or whatever? I mean,
Well, they wouldn't let us do DC stuff. We were trying to get it forever, and DC wanted to handle their own consumer products. I guess they didn't trust, people in consumer products, but we were always saying, hey, we worked for DC. We understand these characters, but they still had a stick up their butt about not having it in-house where they were to do it.
well, were you doing Looney Tunes stuff? And I mean, what were you doing then?
Everything, yes. Looney Tunes, Scooby-Doo, Iron Giant, Osmosis Jones, Harry Potter. It ranged everywhere. Just Hanna-Barbera stuff. It was
Well, so they would come to you and say, like, okay, we're doing these 7-Eleven Harry Potter cups, and we need.
Yeah, they wouldn't be specific about what it would go on. They would just say, hey, we need 10 Harry Potter poses. You know what I mean? That
right.
kind of thing.
Now, well, okay. So when you're doing that kind of stuff, how much of the character likeness, or do you not do the character likeness because that's another rights issue, or
no? 100%. We had to get likenesses right.
Oh, okay.
And think about, that's what Jerome's specialty is.
Right.
And I had to follow that, which is crazy.
You're like, Jerome, man, give me a break. You're making me work.
Like, tell somebody to draw like, Jerome is nuts. It took him forever to learn how to do it. And, it's painstakingly slow even for him.
Yeah.
So, and they wanted at this breakneck pace, it was weird. It was strange.
Was it when you had to do a likeness, like say, like Harry Potter, for example, were they looking for a stylized representation, or they weren't necessarily looking for, this has to look exactly like the actor, but it has to, like a stylized representation of the actor. You clearly knew it was the actor, but it's not like you know what I mean? Am I making any sense?
Yeah, no, they wanted it to look. Jerome literally had to fly out to England to meet with, the producers of the movie, met Daniel Radcliffe. J.K. Rowling actually came to the studio and um, and met with me and Jerome and our art director over there. And I did a drawing for her daughter because she was a Batman fan. So
Oh yeah.
I did a Bruce Timm like Batman for her because she loved the cartoon. Apparently, she heard that one of the artists there worked on the cartoon. So I did a
Well,
drawing.
so
For
what if you're not? What if you're not necessarily great at likenesses? I mean, what do they
then
do?
you're not going to do the job.
Well, meaning would they say, okay, so and so is not really great at likenesses, so we'll give him all the Looney Tunes stuff, and Jerome's really good.
Yeah. I mean, there's 6 artists there, I think. Oh, wait, it was me, Jerome, Chica, Frank. Yeah, there's 6 artists there. So some people were allocated the cartoonier stuff, but me and Jerome had the larger share of doing a little bit of everything.
How much time did you get per say spot illustration? Was it like a couple days? Was it a couple weeks? I mean,
It depends. It sometimes this was one of the bad things that our art director, which we love, he would always want to show out and show how good his artists were.
mm-hmm.
But he would put a strain on us because he would get the job and he wouldn't tell it to us for a couple of days. So he would chip days off of our schedule and just say, oh yeah, we need this in a couple of days. And so we get it done in a couple of days. And it was actually probably owed a few days after that. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And he's just proving to some of the executives, see how good my guys are. And we're like killing ourselves to try to get this stuff done.
Sequential Treasure says, all these stories about losing or missing out on great comic art is starting to depress me. Well, then I won't tell you about me meeting Gene Colan at MegaCon and not buying any Daredevil pages from him. That was another dumb move on my part. That was still a period of time where, I mean, this was like, early 2000s, where, some of these older guys still had some of their original artwork that they hadn't sold, and they were, in their 70s or pushing 80 or whatever, and were like, yeah, I need some bucks. So I think he had some Daredevil pages that were, between $200 and $300.
Wow.
And again, I wasn't great. I was working at CrossGen, so I wasn't raking it in. Not that I ever have, but my kids were little, and we were just kind of like, me dropping money. It's dumb now. You look back on it and go, geez, how much could sell that page for now? But at the time, it was like, I can't justify spending several $100s on original artwork when, we got kids to feed. So when we were in Florida, Shelley wasn't working. So it was just me and whatever pittance I could scratch out of CrossGen. And so we really counted on that convention money to help pay our bills every year.
Mm-hmm. That was a lot of us.
Yep. So as many cool things as you might see, you're like, I always end up talking myself out of it. I'm definitely not going to spill water on this one. Well, this is better. This is better than the first one anyway. So, but I don't want to redo it again. I'm gonna go full screen just for a minute so everybody can see what I got going on here a little bit better.
Ooh-wee. That's awesome. That's cool.
Thank you. So yeah, I got to get all the stuff down here done, but it's coming along.
Yeah. He's got that Todd McFarlane cape that you were talking about. Look at how long that thing is.
Well, that's short still compared to anything Todd would do. I'd have to. This would have to be like a gatefold to keep all the. All right. I think Mike's giving me a hard time here. Wow, that's a great Batman, Aaron. Yeah, I didn't draw it, Mike, and I think you know that. Chad Townsend says, Aaron, you can only have so much stuff like art and comics. After a while, it stacks up. It's true. And that is the funny thing about it. You buy the stuff, and especially comics, you know, and I put them in the boxes. They're in my closet over there. And then you're kind of like, well, now I got to buy another one to kind of get that charge again. And then you buy it. It shows up. You're like all excited. And then you put it in the box. And now you got to get the next one. At least the original art is hanging on my wall, so I can kind of enjoy it all the time. But it's funny. Different people have different, feelings about that kind of stuff. You know, because I remember when I was contemplating selling that Wrightson piece, Terry Dodson was just like, yeah, just get a nice scan of it, you know, and print it out, and you have the printout of it. I was like, but I won't.
No, it's not the same.
I know, it's not the original. Being able to say you own that is sort of important, I guess. I had some Wrightson. There's a couple things I really wish I had that Wrightson Dragon piece, but I also had a couple of. I had a creepy and eerie headshot that were used for the letters pages for Creepy and Eerie magazine. I'd love to have those back, and I also had a Jose Gonzalez Vampirella page that was just had this big close up of Vampirella on it. You know how Jose Gonzalez, how good he is at faces and everything else, but it was just beautiful, and that pained me to give that up. I sold it to Steve Morger, actually. He probably still has it. Yeah, those are some lean years. I called up Bo Smith because I had worked with Bo on Guy Gardner, and he was working for McFarland. You know, he was like in charge of McFarland's stuff. And so I said, dude, anything you can throw me, anything. And he got me a Spawn pinup, which, you know, I penciled and inked. But I think I got one of those image rates, and this was back before I went to CrossGen, so it was pre 2001, and he gave me $1,000 to pencil and ink it.
Oh wow!
Which was back then was a ton. I mean, it's still good now, but
yeah,
I was really good back then. So it was like, oh, dude, you just saved my life for this the next week or whatever, 2 weeks, whatever it was. And then, of course, I got the original back and sold that for a good chunk of change. But yeah, that was during the time I was selling all that stuff. And I had
that was the heartbreaking reason why I don't collect art anymore, because I have to sell something. I'm like, no, what's the point?
Well, I had, when Alan Davis did that series Clandestine.
Yeah.
I had the very first issue. It has the Silver Surfer in it.
Oh,
He's like zipping around, and he runs into that like hippie van floating out in space. Yeah, well, I had one of that surfer page.
Oh wow.
I had to sell that, but I kept page number 1 from the first issue because it had MODOK on it, and I love MODOK so much that I didn't. I sold the Silver Surfer before I sold MODOK.
That's crazy.
Now I think I also figured that Silver Surfer would bring in way more money than MODOK would
Yeah.
at that period of time. So, but yeah, I still have the MODOK page. But yeah, I'd really love to have that Silver Surfer page back. Oh well,
It's gone.
it's gone. It's probably like a $500, $600 page now or more. It wasn't a splash page; it was a panel page, but it was a nice panel page.
When I hear about like certain artists that don't sell their artwork, like Jerry Ordway or Eric Larson and all that type of stuff, it makes me go, man, I wish I wouldn't have never sold my artwork. And then I go, you know what? I'm glad I did. I got this. I got this. And, you know.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we were in a position where that was part of our income,
Yeah.
right? And so it never occurred to me not to sell it.
Yeah.
There's a couple pieces. There's only a couple pieces I actually wish I had back.
Yeah.
I did a couple of Xena covers that were really nice. And I got top dollar for them because those Xena collectors were nuts.
Yeah.
But top dollar 20 years ago is not the same as top dollar now.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was very happy to get what I did. But there's a couple. I mean, I really nailed Lucy Lawless's likeness. Yeah, that's tough to say. And so I'd like to have those back, those two Xena covers back. And there was trying to think if there was, I kept stuff, like my very favorite pieces. So I still have a lot of really nice original artwork, but just not the volume.
Yeah.
But those are the two that come to mind right away that I kind of wish I had back. I could probably get them back without costing me a fortune, but it seems kind of weird to pay money to get your own artwork back. So. Let's see. Chad Townsend says, a good friend of mine owned all of the studio artist's best pieces, including Wrightson Frankenstein cover. Holy smokes. He sold his entire collection for $2 million, died 2 years later. His name was Henry Huey, Hui. Huh. Now that's interesting. I wonder who first bought that Frankenstein. He's talking about the wraparound cover, I assume, from the book. I was at San Diego when that sold, and I remember a guy carrying it out. And it was this huge piece of artwork, and I remember he just walked right by me with the artwork. I wasn't looking at who was carrying it. I was looking at the artwork. And that was crazy. But
You're
wow.
eyeballing them to you were going to knock them out and take that artwork.
Well, I wondered what he paid for it. I think at the time, and this would have been probably in the 90s, later 90s, mid to later 90s. I want to say it sold, the first time he sold it, I think he sold it for 20 grand. I think is what the number was. And that'd be a steal right now,
Yeah.
for that piece. And Albert Moy had another piece. I don't know, if you were much into the Warren stuff at all, but there was this All Mars issue, and Wrightson did a story in it. But the title page of the book, when you open up the book, was these 4 panels of 4 vertical panels, and it was War of the Worlds, John Carter, the monster from the story that Wrightson illustrated, and there was one other thing, and then there was some Martians. I think it was from Martian Chronicles or something like that. And it was all, he did it all in gray marker.
Mm.
And the original, Albert Moy had the original.
Mhm.
And this again would have been in the 90s when Wrightson was like getting rid of all this stuff to like for this divorce settlement or whatever. And it was twice up, you know, so
Oh.
it was like, it was at magazine proportions, right?
Mhm.
But it was twice up.
Yeah.
And it was huge. And he had it for sale for $4,500.
Oh.
And I mean, 4,500 though in 1996 would have been like 15 grand, you know,
Yeah.
to me now.
Yeah.
But I remember just drooling, looking at that thing, going, "Oh, if I only had $4,500 laying around." But it was cool to see the original, you know,
Mhm.
and see it up close. And there was a few years later, somebody had an auction for that. You know that House of Mystery cover that has the voodoo witch doctor on it with the,
Yeah.
he's putting his hand out and they have the little faces on his fingers.
Mhm.
They had the original for that. And it was like Heritage or one of those auction places. And they actually had it out on an easel in their booth. And there was a live auction going on, but you could walk right up there and see it. I think it ended up selling for about 10 grand at that time, which again would be nothing now. But I got to see that like right up close.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, back then we didn't have like cell phones, so I didn't have anything to take a picture of it with. So it lives now like the Road Warrior. He lives now only in my memories.
Yeah.
And I'm putting all these veins and crap in here. It's taking me forever. Chad says he had 3 other Frankenstein pieces from that book. I first saw them with Frank Cho. Cho said it was the best art collection he'd ever seen. Oh, well, you know who probably has them now? Our good friend, Scott Williams. He has a couple of those. He has a Frazetta original. There's a couple. It's just like, dude.
He's all it's good to be a king.
Yeah, exactly. Geek Jesus says, "Hey guys, love to watch you both draw. I was here in the first stream where you guys started the Clayface and Batman drawing, and then I spilled water on it, and now you're here for the second stream." Hopefully this will be the last one. I'm going to take care of it this time. I'm not going to leave it sitting here on this table and putting glasses of water next to it. Oh boy. I got to tell you though, I like this better, what I did here.
Yeah, I was looking. I said, "Oh, it turned out better."
Well, it's integrated better with your Batman, so. Trying to see where I can use that Presto whiteout pen for effect here. See the things I learned from you. I wondered if you taped to get those edges like that, and of course you do.
Yep. Got to bring out all the tricks.
Well, you know, those are really like production art tricks, right? And it's like with everybody going digital, these are like a lost art form. These little tricks on how to get effects and stuff, you know, the old-fashioned way. Because this was commonplace, man. When I was working in commercial art, commonplace to do stuff like that. You know, taping stuff off, using a little airbrush here to get some splatter or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a weird concept, man. I actually worked in a commercial art studio. Like that stuff doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, animation itself is changing now because of COVID. It was like they realized, hey, these people can work from home.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have to rent office space, and but there's nothing quite like being in a studio setting where you're being challenged every day by other talented artists.
Yeah, I think you get some of the best artwork out of some people when they have their comrades around them and they could bounce ideas off of them,
Yep.
compete with them. You know, I know some people don't like the idea of competition, which is ridiculous. It actually makes people better.
Yep. Well, when we had Studiosaurus, I mean, we had a ton of guys in that studio. A lot of them were inkers, but Terry, Matt Haley, me, Lon Randall was in there. Matthew Clark joined later, and we had a bunch of inkers like Randy Emberlin, Carl Kiesel, Gary Martin. Rachel was in there, so it was a big studio. We had a lot of people in there. But what oftentimes happened was someone would get a job and get behind, and you'd always be helping somebody out, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple times where Terry, got behind on stuff, and if you need someone in a pinch to get something done, you're not going to ask Matt Haley. So a lot of that stuff came my way.
You had to throw somebody under the bus. You ain't gonna have to me.
Well, no, I mean, Matt would be the first to admit it. He was, he was not fast. And so Terry would get in a deadline situation and go, hey, man, can you do 5 pages or 6 pages of this or half this issue or whatever? And by doing that, I would develop relationships with his editor. And then every once in a while, they would throw me a job,
Mm-hmm.
So it actually worked out pretty well. And I've always been of the mind that, when I first got the booth at San Diego, I was the first one out of our group of guys to get a booth because I had Bill Stout telling me all the time, you got to get a booth. If you want to make any money, you got to get a booth. You got to get out of Artist Alley and you got to get a booth. He said, but don't get a booth and you've got to have product to sell. So be prepared. You've got to be prepared to have stuff to sell. And then Brereton was on my case about it forever too, about you got to get a booth, man. You got to get a booth. So I finally did it. And I did way better in a booth than I ever did in Artist Alley. The problem was it was way more expensive to get a booth, right?
Yeah.
So everybody, from the Studiosaurus gang saw me over there. They were still in Artist Alley. It was actually a real fear that they were going to close Artist Alley down and make that space available to exhibitors so they could get more money.
Yeah.
Which they have really shrunk it a lot. But so I was thinking I thought I got to get ahead of the curve, right? And so I did it. I got the booth and I did really well, relatively speaking to what I had been doing. And so several guys came up and asked me like, hey, maybe we should share a booth next year, Aaron, And, but Terry came up and I was talking to Terry and we were at that point getting to be pretty good friends. And, I thought to myself, out of all the guys that wanted to share a booth with me, I said, Terry's the guy that is more popular than I am. Out of all these guys that are talking to me, he's more popular than I am. So he's going to bring in more people. And I thought that would benefit me in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
And so Terry and I ended up, 20 some years together getting a booth. We finally split up this last year, but that I wasn't afraid of the competition, and I knew Terry was working on better projects than I was, and that he would, was probably considered by most people better than me. But better is subjective. He was certainly more popular, and I just felt, that I always wanted to be around people that were better than me or more popular than me because I thought that always would make me look better,
Mm-hmm.
So
You definitely have your own lane, so you don't have to worry about competing in that.
Yeah, well, not anymore, but back then. But I still felt that it was a good idea to go with somebody that
For sure.
would attract more attention rather than less. So,
For sure.
are you about ready to show that thing?
Are you finished?
I just got some. I got to do some clay at the bottom. All the good stuff is done.
I'm doing all my whiteout effects.
All right. I just seeing where you're at. That's all. So how hot does it get in the summertime in New Mexico? I got to imagine it gets pretty hot.
Well, it's not Arizona hot.
Oh, it isn't? Okay.
No, not at all. But it gets hot.
Well, believe me, I know Arizona hot because my daughter goes to college there, and we've been there in August,
Oh my goodness.
which is, it was like 115, I think, when we first took her or moved her into college her first year. But
I know Africans go to Arizona and say, "Hey, this is too hot. What the hell is going on?"
It's Africa hot. So, do you guys get like winter?
Oh yeah, it snows.
Does it really?
Yeah.
So, are you guys more like Texas in terms of your weather?
Well, I've never been in Texas, so I wouldn't know.
Okay, well, all right. Never read about Texas?
I mean, I lived in El Paso briefly, but I don't know the larger. You know,
Well, it snows in Texas, but it gets hot in Texas too. So that's kind of sounds like a little bit more like New Mexico. Well, New Mexico is north of Arizona, though, isn't it?
yeah.
Okay, well that makes sense. I always think that New Mexico is below Arizona, but it isn't because part of Arizona is right on the border.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go to New Mexico sometime. It looks so scenic.
It is.
Is that where we're going to start our neighborhood of roundhouses? Is in New Mexico?
Yeah. Probably in Santa Fe. That'll be the place.
So you were in LA for years, though, right? I mean, obviously you're working at.
Yeah.
Were you born and raised in LA or the LA area?
Hollywood, California.
All right, look at that. Well, I mean, your dad starred in Mod Squad.
Yeah. Here we go. I knew that was coming. You got to work on not telegraphing your punches.
I know. I can't get over your dad in sunglasses. My gosh, he looks exactly like Clarence Williams III. I mean, that was just crazy that when you posted that picture. Of course, you got to be old enough to even know what the Mod Squad is, but
Yeah, exactly. They did a remake of it, and it was terrible.
well, of course. I remember that. It was a movie. It wasn't a television show, right? It was a movie. Yeah. I used to watch that show when I was a kid, man. We loved
It's
it.
like pointless to do it if it's not in the same era.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, that is such a late 60s, early 70s show that it's like, how do you. Yeah, to me, it's like Luke Cage. Luke Cage is not cool unless he's in his yellow shirt with a big fro, you know?
Yeah.
I don't like the
I would
bald
have probably
modern
appreciated it if they would have did it like, you remember how they did a Brady Bunch movie recently with Ben Stiller's wife or whatever? Like they got
right.
the
They're all like still caught in the 70s.
Yeah, like if they would have did it like that, I would have been like, all right.
Yeah. Did you read Jendy Tartakovsky's Power Man, Luke Cage miniseries?
No. Was it good?
Yeah, it was kind of like, well, it was definitely, he was definitely sending up like the blaxploitation thing, but which I think was kind of fun from the 70s, but it's very, well, it's Jendy Tartakovsky-ish, but it's also very kind of Kirby-ish, and I felt like I was watching like one of his cartoons, but like if he did it with Luke Cage. So it was really, I liked it. I thought it was cool, and it had sort of
another character that should never be out of that era.
Yeah,
in my personal opinion,
I agree. I mean, he was just like born. I mean, it was so perfect for that early set. I mean, well, they based it on the whole popularity of the blaxploitation films in the early 70s. That's what their inspiration was for it. So you take it away from that and it loses some of its charm. But he was kind of like I want to say, I haven't read it in a long time, but I think he had like some sort of, I don't know, sort of a Bruce Lee thing, or he was like had to go like in this island, and it was this game of death thing where he had to fight these powerful characters, and I don't know, it was very Tartakovsky, but it was still very sort of Luke Cagey. I don't know. I really liked it, but I always thought it was cool too that he was like a hero for hire.
Yeah.
It's like charging people for his services. I mean, that's not very heroic, but I mean, the guy's an ex-con.
But it's very realistic, though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how do these superheroes make money, right? All right, here we go. Let me give you full screen. That's me. There we go. Nice. Look at that. Look at that underlighting. That's so cool. Very nice. Now, is this, would you offer this for sale to anybody that,
Sure.
Look at that. Hollywood High, thank you, Frankie wants to know if you went to school with anybody famous while you were in high school or anything.
Me?
Yeah. Did you go to Hollywood High?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
All the people that were like famous were like grades ahead of me, like Slash and all that kind of stuff. And he went to Melrose High. And, what was the dorky guy who married Courtney Cox?
Yeah. From Scream.
Scream, yeah.
That guy. Yeah. Oh, you went to school with him?
No, they all went to Melrose High.
Oh.
And I left by the time I was going to high school. I ended up moving to Escondido because my father passed. And I went to Orange Glen High School. And then from there, I went up to the Bay Area.
Oh, that's right. You were up in the San Francisco area for a while. Forgot about that. All right. Well, let's take a look at what I've accomplished today. So you can see I just have a little lumpiness down at the bottom there to get
that is awesome.
Cleaned up. Thanks, sir.
You're making me want to buy it.
I'm going to bid against each other. That's not very productive, man. That's not very smart. But yeah, I'm going to do a little bit more work down in here.
Yeah.
Maybe put some.
Make it look all consistent.
Yeah. And there we'll have it. So
you should put Robin's face in some of that muck.
Batman, help, please!
Help, Batman!
Put it right here, screaming up over the mound there.
Put a couple of batarangs in there that are getting sucked in. That's not doing anything.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because I had that in the other one. That was your suggestion in the other one, and I forgot about that. Yeah, I'll do that. Some batarangs stuck in him.
That's cool.
Oh, this will be cool. So there we got the David Williams, Aaron Lopresti combo piece.
There you go.
And I'll have this done by Sunday so I can show it completely done on the Sunday show. But
And everybody, he's going to put Gotham City all in the background.
yeah, nah, probably not. Probably not doing that, man. Probably not.
Real nice. Real nice.
There we are. Okay. All right. Well, we've been doing this for almost 3 hours, dude. Can you believe that?
Oh, wow. No.
I guess
We need to speed up.
I know. I guess I'm sleeping in tomorrow. I'm always amazed that I can talk for like that long and keep coming up with stuff to say.
Yeah. You're getting good at this.
That's right. It's my second profession, right? Live streaming. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us and sticking with us. Now we got 45 people watching right now, so that's a good crowd on a late Thursday night. I want to remind everybody about David Williams and Gabe Eltiabe's Truth, Justice, American Way campaign on Indiegogo. It's the description's in the link, or let me try that again. The link is in the description of this in this video, along with my Wraith of God Blood Hunters campaign, which is live right now as well on Indiegogo, and Andy Smith's Core Draft The Reckoning. If you want some barbarian action, you want to check that out as well. And of course, all the links are in the description. So everybody, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Check out my show Sunday night at 5 with Shelly Showtime, and we'll have Rini Strakowski. There it is. That's the Dale Keown hand, right? Reaching out.
He goes like this.
As I do the fist, man. I love you, man. So we'll have her. That'll be a good show on Sunday. So check that out as well. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your week and weekend, and we will see you soon.
Always
Thanks.
bet on black.
Always bet on black, unless